Hello, good morning, and welcome to the AM show here on the Joy News channel. It's yet another day where we have to meet and put Ghana first. How Ghana will develop and progress is what should occupy, you and I, our day. And that's why we're here on the show to help direct how the day will go. I'm grateful that you've decided to allow us into your homes, into your offices, and into your space for us to share the morning together. You've made the right choice to be here, but remember that be cheerful and hopeful because your best days are still ahead of you. Welcome again. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace, and I'm doing this in the stead of Benjamin Akakpo. Well, today we'll start off with the news review. Our guest will be the Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleimana Brahima. And from there, we'll bring you a big story. Of course, the fracas in Niger is affecting a lot of things on the continent. Here in Ghana, it's affecting our food security. Most of our vegetable traders, especially the onion traders who import their product from Niger, are complaining. Prices of onions, especially, have shot up due to the situation. Today, we delve into that issue as we discuss how government can work around the clock to make things better. Now, also on the show, we would have a conversation with the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Library Authority, Hayford Siao. We assess his performance and also look at his plans to make Ghana a reading nation. We'll also be in Kumasi for a continuation of our coverage of the KMA Pragya riders incident. Now, the riders have been demanding action from the KMA. They have been blocking some part of the street. It took the intervention of Honorable Muntaka Mubarak to get the Pragya riders to rescind or decide not to block some of the roads. But we'll be there. Nane Aljuma will provide us update on Citizens Microphone. Now, Ahim Interior will also join us to talk about our latest hotline documentary, Whispers in the Dark. How come young people are deciding to do things that we thought only older people were thinking about? It's a packed show, and that's how it is. That's how we decided to serve your morning. Grateful to be part of this, and on behalf of the production team, once again, welcome. In my language, Ahanta, you say, AM News is up next. Good morning and welcome to the AM News now. The Ghana Health Service is worried about how some pregnant women in the Commander Edne Guafwe Bri municipality resort to prayer camps and use the hospitals as the last resort. According to the service, the development is likely to increase maternal mortalities in the area because complications are reported very late at the health facilities. Now, speaking at the 15th Health Week launch, Deba, in the KEA municipality, Municipal Director of Health Services, Catherine Ampa Bryant, called on relatives and maternal mothers to always use the hospitals as a first resort.
We are having issues with our clients or our people being the healthcare. When it comes to healthcare, instead of coming to us for their first point of call, they most often than not, we find them in the prayer camps before the situation gets worse, and then they come to us.
Municipal Director of Health Services, Catherine Ampa Bryant, bemoaning how some pregnant women use the prayer camps as a first resort when the hospitals are supposed to be.
As a municipality, the whole of last year we recorded one maternal death. But this half year we have realized that we have recorded 2 maternal deaths. But we have other attributed deaths that resulted in CCTH that were not coming from, that did not die in this municipality, but eventually died in Cape Coast. And most often than not, they come to our facilities very late. And these cases too, upon interrogation, we realized that they had been to the prayer camps. So most most often than not, when they get pregnant, the issue is that, oh, this pregnancy has some spiritual cases related to the pregnancy. And so they would want the spiritualists to attend to them first before they even come to us. And sometimes instead of them to, go to the prayer camps and still be coming to us to attend to their physical needs so that the spiritual people be taking care, most of it doesn't happen like that. They rather get there. When they get worse, then they'll be rushed to the hospital. And in such situations, there's little we can do to address such cases. And so today, we're using this platform to address our people.
The Dean of the School of Medical Sciences at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Sebastian Eliasson, says bringing to the fore the issues of maternal deaths in the country has become more crucial.
Maternal health and under 5 health are extremely important to every nation, not only to Ghana. I mean, maternal and child health define the future of every country. Even in terms of development, every country is measured by how much improvement exists within the maternal and child health indicators. And so that is why it is extremely important. And that is why we chose that as a theme.
Quality Assurance Manager of the NHIA in the Central Region, Becky Boachi-Yadom, emphasized the need for mothers and pregnant women to take advantage of the free family planning and maternal care rolled out by the NHIA.
We want mothers to have a better delivery, better maternal health. They won't pay so that when they are pregnant, they can go to hospital for the care for free. Because of the money, people were not able to go. So now health insurance is covering all that. And it's even a national policy that maternal health should be free. And NHI is paying for everything. When you register today, you can use it to go to hospital. So pregnant women is free for registering, and they don't wait for the 1 month period to go to hospital. When you register today, you can use your card to go to hospital.
Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejenyako.
Still on health, a pediatric surgeon at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Victor Echure, is asking residents in the Kajebi district to develop good health habits in order to avoid preventable complications. Dr. Echure made the remarks when he led 3 partners, a Christian faith group, to provide medical outreach services to residents at KJB in the OT region. The team has also sunk mechanized boreholes for 6 communities in the district. Peter Seno has the rest of the story.
E3 Partners is an international evangelism and church planting missions organization that mobilizes teams for short-term campaigns to help national churches plant new churches in their communities. The group did not just visit KGB district in the OT region for evangelism, but also provide potable water for 6 communities that needed such support for years. In Suta, Jamlome, Ahamansu, Dodi Papasi, Poases Cement and Odumasi benefited from a mechanized borehole each. Some residents have been sharing their appreciation about these projects. We the chiefs are grateful to E3 Partners for this water project. We are ready to make land available for their church activities. The residents of Ahamansu are very grateful for this water project. We are asking for more development projects in this area. The team also provided medical services from the teeth to the eyes and other ailments affecting the well-being of residents in these communities within the district. Here are some beneficiaries of the medical services.
Eye problems and all other things which they normally struggle to go to hospital, they don't have money even to go. So this one coming, they are doing it free. Those who are not even having money, people are even testifying here. There are all this, the glass they are giving to them, the medicine. If it were hospital, they wouldn't be able to pay.
I went for eye clinic and I was taking care of them, giving glasses. I'm grateful to this program organizers.
Dr. Francis Osei is the coordinator for the rural evangelism and church planting. He tells Joy News why they are on this mission.
The main purpose for this program is that the word of God should go into the rural areas. We find that most of the Christian activities are concentrated in the urban centers. And over there, the churches are large and many people go to church on Sundays. But many others are in the rural areas and they do not have the kind of resource and nor do they have the facilities to really grow in their knowledge of the Lord. We, in partnership with 7 churches that are in the KJB township, we have identified 7 other rural communities who need to be reached and who need to be also helped in the things that they need for their livelihood. This program combines humanitarian activities with the preaching of the Word of God.
Dr. Victor Echery is a pediatric surgeon at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and the leader for the Christian Medical Outreach Team. He is advising residents to cultivate a healthy health-seeking habit to avoid preventable complications.
Yes, we do recommend, and there are hypertensives, there are diabetics, and visiting a hospital just once is not enough. In fact, sometimes we don't even want to attend to them by way of giving them medications, but rather advising that they go to the facility they have been to previously, so that the doctors or the healthcare workers there can continue to monitor them and make sure that they are in good health. Some also resort to alternative practices. But if you resort to alternative practice and your condition is not going away, then you need to also resort to the right care that will let your condition go away. So we're doing quite a bit of counseling, and I believe that sometimes it's more paramount than giving out medications, because going to the right source of care is paramount to having good health.
Peter Hudson for Joy News.
Now to other stories, stakeholders in the Islamic education sector have been urged to adopt new modes of teaching the Arabic language to suit modern trends. First Ghanaian to obtain a Doctor of Philosophy in teaching Arabic to non-native speakers from the Islamic University of Medina, Dr. Adam Umar Nanaye says there is a need to institute structures that would make Arabic education more attractive to the next generation, adding that this would minimize crime amongst the youth in Muslim communities. And as Sabit has more.
The introduction of Arabic language into the school curriculum of Ghana has been described as timely and appropriate within the concept of globalization. However, it has been calls by stakeholders in the Islamic educational space for a change in the Arabic and Islamic educational curricula to suit modern trends, a move that will place Muslim students at par with others in the secular education. Dr. Adam Umar Nabila, also known as Yellow Man, is the first Ghanaian to obtain a Doctor of Philosophy in teaching Arabic to non-native speakers from the Islamic University of Medina. He says the time has come for the enhancement of Islamic education through modernization.
So it's up to us to look at it, which way or the new modern way in teaching Arabic, so that we can be able to enhance the way our system is moving now, since the nation needs it and we need it in the community, and also in large, the youth also need a job. They also need to enhance their own education. So it's up to us, since the government has given us the nod, now you can, the Arabic in SS, you can write it at Novdek, you can write it at Wasi, also in primary schools. So it's up to us that now we should enhance the education system.
He wants Arabic teachers to work towards upgrading their academic knowledge through trainings and seminars, a move he said would help bring sustainable development through effective education.
We all know most of the trained teachers, time to time, a new system will come to the system. Government will recall everybody back. We go to schools, in the after schools, we go to learn the courses to upgrade ourselves. So what about us, the Islamic teachers? In first place, we don't have the programs, we don't have the teachings, we don't have the training. So how can we upgrade ourselves So we are looking forward how we can be able to upgrade the system so that we can be having seminars, we can be having teaching courses, we can be having intellectuals, we can having interactions with the teachers, with the school owners, so that the Arabic teaching can be a developed thing, so that the nation in return will benefit from it.
He called on stakeholders in the Islamic education sector to institute structures that would make Arabic education more attractive, adding that a well-established Islamic educational system would help minimize crime in the Muslim community.
It's up to us, the schools, the teachers, the structure, the Islamic education system, the Islamic education unit. It's up to us to look to the structure and knows that we have to put those structures in place. If we get a correct teachers, a trained teachers who are able, who have the ambition to teach, therefore it will look attractive. As you know, education cut off the number of crime in any society. If people are educated, they will be thinking of productivity rather than entering into criminal world. So the rest quarter, that's where you start your life. So education is a biggest tool in our community, especially in our Zongo communities, that will stop crime.
Dr. Adam Omar further noted that academicians in the various Muslim communities across the country must come together to offer the needed support to the people to help obtain sustainable development through effective Islamic education. Anas Sabit, Joy News.
Now, Bishop of the Damongo Diocese, Most Reverend Peter Paul Akingia, says society is now plagued with issues of corruption, falsehood, dishonesty, misapplication of funds meant for others, stealing, and indecency. He avers that these acts pose a threat to the normal values of the people. Speaking at the biennial conference of the Catholic Organization for Social and Religious Advancement, Bishop Peter Paul asked Christians not to despair, but stand up to restore the lost moral values. Here is Rafiq Salam's report.
The 20th National Delegates Conference of the Catholic Organization for Social and Religious Advancement, COSRA, had in attendance delegates from all 16 regions and dioceses in the country. Bishop of the Damongo Diocese, Most Reverend Peter Paul Anchir, in his keynote address, averred that the world of today, not excluding Ghana, is plagued with different crimes and evils manifesting in different ways. Most Reverend Anchir lamented that the aforementioned crimes and evils are not committed by people who have no knowledge of God, but Christians. He opined that this poses a challenge to the moral values of the society, urging members of COSRA not to despair, but stand up as a synodal church to restore the roles and values.
And we know, we are all aware of the difficulty in living a just life in our society of today, where bribery and corruption seems to be a legalized form, falsehood, dishonesty, armed robbery, stealing, misappropriation of funds meant for others, or other things, cheating, indecency, all these things. These are all rampant. These pose a challenge on our moral values.
He also spoke about the issue of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values, commending the promoters of the bill for standing up to ensuring that nothing untoward happens.
We as Christian shepherds commend those lawmakers who are leading in promoting the bill for the proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values. I was in the US when that bill was passed, and very interesting enough, some people said, Bishop, it is Africa that will save the world. And I congratulate your politicians, your parliamentarians for being so faithful to humanity. That said, I want to say, it is not only the LGBTQAI++ that is threatening the marriage. But there are some of us, our lackadaisical attitude to marriage. Some of us don't believe in the marriage, even though it's God's gift as Christians. If we believe, then let us marry and marry properly according to the church.
Member of Parliament for the Wise constituency and Deputy Ranking Member of Parliamentary Select Committee on Food and Agriculture, Godfrey Sergio South stated that the country is going through challenging times, urging the church to come on board to help fix it.
Is it not time we resurrect the Diocesan Development Unit and the Diocesan Agric Development Project? Can we not go back and invest these resources in helping the productive capacity of this country so that the produce thereof can even be used to support this relief and support the vulnerable that we are already raising money to do?
Well, to politics now, and the Mayor of Tamale, Sule Salifu, has promised to be the first New Patriotic Party candidate to win the Tamale Central seat. The Tamale Central seat has been held by the National Democratic Congress since its creation in 2004. But speaking to Joy News after filing his nomination, Mr. Sule Salifu said the seat will fall to the MPP.
The Mayor, Sule Salifu, comes against two other contenders for the Tamale Central seat. Mr. Sule Salifu believes with his commitment and service to the party, he is capable of winning the primaries and moving to win the 2024 elections for the MPP.
I want to appeal to my colleagues to be very peaceful in their campaign because we are from the same family. At the end of the day, any of us who win will need the support of the other so that we can win the seats. People don't believe that the MPP can win the Tamale Central seats, but I'll just give you two examples. One, the Karga constituency, nobody thought we could win the Karga seat. Today, Honorable Anta is a member of parliament for the Karga seat. In Damangu, we never thought we could win the Damangu seat. Today, Abu Drapo is an MP for Damangu. So I am saying and pleading with my colleagues that if we are united, if we are together, put our energies together, in 2024, the MP will win the Tamale Central seat for the first time.
The Member of Parliament for Yendi, Farouk Ali Mahama, who was part of his team, pledged resources and other support for the mayor. He said the late Aliu Mahama, his father, was a godfather to Mr. Sule Salifu and would have offered similar support for him. He believes Mr. Sule Salifu is capable of picking up.
My late father, Aliu Mahama, was a godfather to Sule Salifu. Sule Salifu has been through the mill for more than 20 years, served as an assistant to my father. We went through the mill. We went through the mill to become the Northern Regional Secretary of the New Patriotic Party in the Northern Region. So therefore, he has been through the politically, experience-wise, he has it. And it's not of surprise that us members of parliament have come to support him. Because we believe in breaking the eight. And breaking the eight, we need a candidate who is well marketed, a candidate who has the vast experience, a candidate who has the know-how of all the region. Not to talk of Tamale Central. Our goal and our aim is to support the Tamale Central Executive and the chairman to make sure we break the jinx of winning Tamale Central, which is very, very dear to us. So my coming here today is in two folds. One, as a member of parliament to support my senior brothers. Two, as a family of the representation of the Aliu Mahama family. Because if my late father was alive, he'd be happy to see his godson, that is Sule Salifu, climbing on the stairs of the ladder of success.
In a related development, the immediate former Northern Regional Minister's aide, Alidu Abdulrahman, known as Abre, has declared that the Tamale North seat will be one of the seats that will be handed over to the MPP in 2024. He said the constituents are not happy with the poor development of the constituency.
Winning the constituency, the primaries, because in fact I have done a lot in the constituency, even without even having the intention of contesting the constituency. I just conceived the intention not long ago, but this was as a result of a unique research and investigations that I did, and realized that the constituency can be won. You can take the constituency from Honorable Sohini, because the constituents are not happy with him. He is not doing anything in the constituency. There is a lot of developmental challenges in the constituency, and that's what we stand to bring.
He called on his fellow contestants to conduct their campaign devoid of any violence.
The most important thing for us is not these primaries that we are going. We know, inshallah, Allah will give us the mandate. And if we get the mandate, our ultimate task is Honorable Sohini. And he's the one we are coming to face. Inshallah, after the primaries, we are coming to face this Honorable Sohini. I'm just appealing to everybody to be calm and then to approach this particular primaries with caution, because we don't want any disturbance whereby we create problems for the MPP in the region.
In other stories, the Chief Executive Officer of the Northern Development Authority, Sule Sambian, has indicated that he would beat the National Democratic Congress parliamentary candidate if they go for the 2024 parliamentary elections. He said he is the candidate to rescue the seat that fell to the NDC in 2020.
The NDA chief executive was accompanied by supporters, friends, and relations to file his nominations. Speaking after filing his nomination form, Mr. Sambian said he will be the NDC candidate with not less than 2,000 votes.
Only because, we need to have got it in 2016 and lost it painfully in 2020. Painfully in 2020, we lost it. We put all our energies in that election, but we lost it. I believe that I am the one that can rescue this seat in 2024. The NDC is afraid. Their MP is afraid. He knows that if I am on the ballot box, the gap that he beat our candidate in 2020 is going to be more. I'll beat him by not less than 2,000 votes. Mark it today. Mark it. I'll beat him by not less than 2,000 votes. Mark it today. Let's remain calm. Let's be peaceful. Let's go about preaching peace. Let's go about campaigning in a manner that doesn't bring disunity, and then let's be focused.
Mr. Sambian believes the support show him he would pick the parliamentary slot to go into the 2024 elections.
That massive show of support and love, honestly, the numbers have overwhelmed me. I had anticipated numbers, but I didn't expect this kind of following to come. I can bet that over 400 persons who are here are delegates. A lot of the party people think that there's a need for change now. You can testify to it. They want change. And they think that I am the one who represents that change. I am the one who has hope. In whom they have hope. Let me put it that way. So, all I can say to my delegates is that I thank you very much for this show of love. I will not let you down. I will lead you in a manner that will bring satisfaction to all and sundry in this constituency. I have often stood for unity.
And that's how we wrap up the AM news for you today. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Up next is the news review. Stay with us. All right, so welcome back to the AM show. Time for us to bring you what the papers are reporting today. And I have a lot of them here today. I have the Delhi Guide newspaper. I have the Delhi Analyst, the Independent, the Custodian is also here. we have the Chronicle, the Economic Times, we have the New Crusading Guide, the Finder, and the Ghanaian Publisher, a lot of them here. Well, like I told you earlier, our guest for the review is the Executive Director for Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleimana Brahima, and I'm grateful for joining us. Good morning to you. Okay, all right then. So let's go through the papers and then see. Now, the Finder newspaper says, Cecilia Dapa demands retraction, but alleged monies in a bank account. 1.9 million cedis paid to 95 Ghost. Bono Regional Health Directorate accused of inserting the names of Sinyain Regional Hospital's electronic payment voucher. I can garner 54% of vote to defeat Mahama. That's according to Alan. And global central banks post losses on reserves in 2022. No quick recovery seen. That story is on page 5. Leading ladies lots 3 Ghanaian women to watch in banking and finance in Africa. Okay, all right. It comes with a photograph of Efe Amoa, Audrey Abaka, Sheila Restberg, and Yawa Hansen Kwao. Okay, all right. So that is the final newspaper. Let me look at the back page. Edin Ketia is a role model. That's according to Arteta. Well, so that's one for the Ghanaian there. Joseph Paul Amwa leads Ghana's contingent for 2023 World Athletics Championship. Okay. And Anthony Joshua knocks out Hellenius in 7th round. So Nigerian brother Anthony Joshua making us proud there, defeating Hellenius to retain his title. Well, Daily Guide newspaper, it says IMF clears BOG over 60 billion cedis loss. I'm the best candidate to beat Mahama. That's according to Alan Chairman Ting. And man kills Pal over dog meat. Oh, really? Okay. Cocoa Road project will be completed according to Cocoa Board. That's it. So we'll delve deeper into the papers. Now, Daily Analyst says ongoing Cocoa Road project will be completed. Okay, so that's it there. Launch of EUW Students chapter of GJA. GJA will continue to explore opportunities to enhance capacity of members. Okay, so that's one is coming from GJA there. Renaming UG after JB Dankwa may happen one day, according to Ekofuado. Well, let me welcome our guest for today, Mr. Suleimana Brahima. Good morning to you and thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Okay. Now, let's start from the Daily Guide newspaper. It says IMF clears BOG over 60 billion loss. I'm the best candidate to beat Mahama. That's according to Alan. Cocoa Road project to be completed. That's according to Cocoa. Now, the IMF story is on page 3 of the Daily Guide newspaper. It says the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has come to the aid of the Bank of Ghana, absolving it from accusation of mismanagement as a result of the loss of 60 billion cedis. The Bretton Woods institution believes accusation of mismanagement on the part of the central bank is far-fetched and corroborated the BOG's explanation on how the negative equity came about. It noted that a BOG participated in the domestic debt exchange program to share some of the burden the DDE placed on government debt holders, along with banks, other financial institutions, pension funds, and individuals. Mr. Brahma, let's start from this point. The IMF is trying to say that, well, the BOG is not to be held responsible for that 60 billion cedis loss. What's your thought on it?
Well, some of these comments from these external actors sometimes can be quite problematic. And then therefore one wonders sometimes whether these institutions truly represent the interest of member states, or basically it's about the interest of their institutions. The IMF really looked on right from the beginning when this government was doing what people call smart accounting. At some point when the matter even came up through Fact Check Ghana to indicate that, look, the government of Ghana was presenting different figures to the Parliament of Ghana and different figures to the IMF. The same IMF then came out to say, oh, well, yes, but we have agreed to disagree with government in terms of how the figures are presented. So one wonders at that point how the IMF said, oh, well, the government of Ghana says this and we are saying, no, that cannot be, but we have agreed to disagree as a matter of principle. Essentially what the IMF is then saying here is that, oh, well, the losses incurred by the Bank of Ghana is real, but it is because they needed to incur those losses in order to meet our conditionalities for the bailout that we are giving to your government. And so basically, diplomatically, that is how they would put it. But the truth is that it was a condition for the BOG to go through in order for the government of Ghana to meet the requirements of the IMF, bailout that we are currently under. So it's quite it doesn't still solve our problem. For the first time that I am hearing, at least maybe since my adult life, that the central bank, the Bank of Ghana, has made losses. And I asked if the other banks made losses and they were collapsed and consolidated into consolidated bank. And the same people who did that are the ones in charge of the Bank of Ghana. Why should they be there? If we had the opportunity to also collapse the Bank of Ghana and merge it into another bank, perhaps that is what we would do. But
well, they still say that they are able to provide their supervisory role, and as a central bank, that's essential. So once they are able to do that, then they can still go ahead and do what they do.
Oh yeah, when I heard that there was an IMF person sitting at the Bank of Ghana, or was it the Ministry of Finance, I told myself, well, this is what we needed, because quite clearly, the people in charge of our economy had shown that they were really incompetent, inefficient, and unable to manage our affairs. And at this stage, basically what we need is to have an external person come in to support the management of our economy. And so I'm just hoping that now that we have somebody from the IMF, the World Bank, and at some point I even read that there was somebody from also the US, perhaps taking charge, maybe things will begin to get better, because from all indications, the people who have been in charge of our economy are not the ones who can manage the economy.
So we are not our own managers in the end then?
Well, we've proven that at this stage, we've proven that we are unable to manage our own affairs, and therefore having these people in may be the way to go.
Is that the only way to turn around the fortunes of the central bank, or there's another way that as a country we need to approach holistically?
Well, you see, the central bank governor is appointed by someone. And if that person is overseeing the mess that is going on and are not prepared to get rid of the folks there, and right from the Ministry of Finance, then what can we do? Essentially, we've gotten ourselves to a space where we say, look, since your man is not ready to let these people go, then the only way is to have ourselves imposed on you, so that things will go well. So at the end of the day, it all comes down again to the doorsteps of the president and, of course, the vice president. The vice president has been the chairman of the economic management team since 2017. And this is how far he has brought us. In fact, at some point, he himself was proud to introduce the members of the economic management team to the people of Ghana. And this is how far the Bawumia management team has brought the nation. So it's up to the vice president as chairman of the economic management team, and the president as the overall person who does the appointments, to let the people know that they failed, and therefore all we can have is to have these external people impose themselves on us to help us manage our economy.
All right. I'm grateful to you. Cocoa Board is also promising completion of Cocoa Road. I mean, with what we've seen in the past and how things are running, when institutions like COCOBOD come out to say this, does it inspire any hope in you that indeed they will be able to accomplish what they are talking about?
Well, since last week, I read about, and I was wondering whether that is really the truth, that the CEO of COCOBOD has said that the IMF and the European Union has instructed that COCOBOD should not continue with the construction of cocoa roads. And so I was asking myself, is it the CEO and the board of COCOBOD that is in charge of what COCOBOD would do, or COCOBOD has also now come under the management of the IMF and the European Union, said that these two institutions have instructed that COCOBOD should stop or cease the construction of cocoa roads. That was something that was quite surprising and shocking to me. The other point really is that, look, Ghana over the years when we were in basic schools, secondary school, up to today, cocoa has continued to be a significant backbone for our economy and the nation's development. Yet, I grew up in a cocoa growing area, in a real village, where the farmers themselves would, from year to year, be the ones clearing the feeder road, struggling to maintain it, so that trucks that would convey the cocoa from those villages will be able to come and convey the cocoa. And that is after the farmers have sold their cocoa. So they could say, well, we've done our part. But they were the ones, and in fact, I would say that during childhood, I was involved in doing those things. And up to today, we're still talking about cocoa roads. So the people who are struggling, the farmers who are struggling, doing all these things, after selling their cocoa, have to be concerned about, how the cocoa gets carted away to the cities and then eventually for export. I think that is a really, really damning thing to be happening to our nation. Apart from that, these are areas where pregnant women, when there are complications, even a motorable road for a motorbike to carry them to the nearby hospital is an issue. And so for me, it comes down to this whole question where we say, people are cutting down cocoa farms for galamsey. I believe farmers will begin to ask themselves, we've done this for our parents were doing it, our grandparents were doing it, we are doing it, and this is where we are. Even a motorable road to be able to also commute to the cities is a problem. So what is the point in continuing to do cocoa when the CEO of COCOBOD and the people are enjoying flying first class and so on? I mean, why should we continue to endure this pain? So I think as a country, we really are in a mess, in a significant mess, and I don't know how we come out of it.
Okay. Now, he was speaking at the symposium of the Cocoa Clinic, and he said this policy shift stems from negotiations with the European Union and the International Monetary Fund. Now, both entities, according to the story I'm reading, he said, questioning COCOBOD's involvement in road construction, urging a focus on core functions. Quote, the EU sent a team last year to do due diligence on sustainable production, and when they came, they wanted to know why COCOBOD was involved in cocoa roads construction, because it is not a core business of COCOBOD, and they insisted that we take that venture out of our equation and not, and of course, the IMF is also saying the same thing. They say that we can continue with what we are currently constructing and not start new ones, unquote, by Mr. Boyne said. Now, so it looks like the two, international organizations are saying that because this is not part of your core mandate, focus on your core mandate, but complete what you are doing. But when you finish these ones, you don't have to start a new one. Does it look like we are being then directed on what we could do as a country, as a sovereign country, when we can decide to do what we can with our resources?
Well, you see, I think it's when you are sick, almost everyone prescribes a different medication to you, and literally you begin to have multiple doctors. Our country today is sick, and therefore we have all manner of institutions then directing us and prescribing what we should do. Otherwise, the question you ask is, if the construction of cocoa rows isn't part of the core mandate of the Ghana Cocoa Board, you ask yourself, is the management of our cocoa sector part of the core mandate of the EU or the IMF? Why should it be their business to determine how we manage our cocoa sector? Is that part of their core business? But like I said, our country is in a mess, and these institutions would come in ways as to suggest to us or direct us how they think we should go by our affairs. And I am quite surprised that the CEO of Cocoa Board wouldn't be ashamed to say these things publicly. Cocoa, I mean, something that has been the major supporter of our economy over the years. And today we are being told that, look, even as it is farmers who are making us who we are, as a country, enjoying all the things that perhaps we are enjoying as a country over the years, farmers must continue to live in areas that cannot be reached and yet continue to produce the cocoa for us so that the CEO and others can continue to enjoy fat salaries, the 70,000 and plus cedis, fly first class, and then have cocoa board staff fly in first class and business class and so on, whilst our farmers must continue to endure in areas where even a bicycle cannot reach. This is a problem. And I think that the earlier we address this as a nation, the better. If we had not put ourselves in this kind of mess, economic mess, I don't think that the EU will be concerned about how Cocoa Board is managing its own affairs. And I don't think that the IMF would have been concerned. Cocoa rows construction started not today. Why is it today that we are being told that it is not part of the core mandate of Cocoa Board? Okay. It's all because, we've run our country down, and therefore we are getting prescriptions all over.
Okay. I don't know if this is, I feel this alone, but let me ask you, does it feel normal to you that after so many years of cultivating and exporting cocoa, we still go out to borrow before we can buy cocoa?
Well, that's a question that a friend has always raised, that why is it that every year we have to go for what is called cocoa syndication loan before we are able to buy and export our cocoa? It's almost like a businessman saying that, look, I've bought these products, I'm selling them, but anytime my stocks run out, I have to go for a bank loan in order to restock. So you ask yourself, why are you not using your profits to do that? And as a country, I think it is one of the tragedies that we've had. And it is not just under this government. Almost every government has had to resort to the same mechanism. Every year we borrow, buy. Every year we borrow and buy. And then we ask ourselves, so where is the profit? Why can't we as a nation say, look, over a period of 5 years, we will stop this cocoa syndication loan business and begin to use our own reserves from our cocoa money to purchase cocoa, so that at least gradually we'll get to a point where we will not have to resort to loans. And again, you have managers of our country who really come to power basically to loot our monies, basically to make themselves wealthy, rather than focusing on the development of the country. And once that is the situation, we will continue to be in this mode.
Wow. All right, let's move to the final newspaper. Let me take you to page 2. It says 1.9 million Ghana cedis paid to 95 ghosts. The story says, and it's by Elvis Darkon in Accra, in a shocking revelation, the Auditor General has discovered that 95% unknown names have been paid salaries totaling 1.9 million cedis between January and December 2021. What is even more baffling is that these unknown names were validated as staff of Sunyain Regional Hospital in the Bono region and paid salaries every month. However, when staff of the Auditor General's department conducted a head count of personnel of the hospital, the 95 were nowhere to be found. Now, when questioned, the Human Resource Manager of Sunyain Regional Hospital, Mr. Nicholas Opong, explained that the officers were placed on the hospital's electronic payment voucher by the Bono Regional Health Directorate, and that the officers were unknown to the hospital. The Auditor General therefore instructed the Director General of the Ghana Health Service to ensure that the Regional Health Director and the Medical Director recover the amount of 1.9 million cedis with interest at the prevailing Bank of Ghana rate from the affected persons. Why are we, and I love your response. Why do we still talk about this? After all these years of, Auditor General finding these and asking us to go after these people, why does it still happen?
Well, look, a year from now, we'll be talking about the same thing, and this money that is said to have gone to persons who are not staff of the hospital, the money will not be recovered. I mean, what a year it's been like this. For all you know, some party foot soldiers had to, be made to get something, as they say, no curfew, and something was done. We'll talk about it this way, nothing will happen. Last year, I believe we had stories like this. Nothing has happened. Again, that shows how unserious we are as a country. And I mean, you can only keep lamenting because the stories will keep coming. This is just, this is 1.9 million. I'm sure billions have been lost elsewhere. And yet all we do will be to talk about it. The media will report it, and nothing will happen. We are in an era where really nothing seems scary anymore. Even if it was 1.9 billion, people would say, look, this thing, they will keep happening because that is the system that we are in. We don't have leadership that is really and honestly committed to the fight against corruption. And once the fight against corruption has been reduced to rhetoric, as we have it, these matters will keep coming up, and they are no longer surprising, and people will not find them shocking. In fact, very soon people will say, if it's 1.9 million, they'll say, oh, nah, this one is nothing, And so, why? We are talking about millions of money allegedly stolen from a minister's house. And that those monies, when put together, far exceeds this amount of money. And so people are like, Charlie, this one, people very soon see these things as normal.
But is it not worrying and quite fearful that we are getting close to that juncture when we sort of see these things as normal?
Well, I mean, that's really, as I said, the tragedy that we find ourselves in. And people are becoming agitated, people are getting anxious, people are getting frustrated. Over the weekend, I saw a video in which some young men were tamping the head of I think it's the statue,
the bust of the president's father.
Yes, someone who is supposed to be Edward Akufo-Addo, the father of the current president. And I was telling someone, look, this is how people can express their frustrations. And the earlier we start, we get to address these issues, the better for all of us as a country. We shouldn't wait for people to continue with this kind of frustration and to allow the frustrations to boil. Because when it explodes, we may not be able to contain the situation. And our leaders must set up and begin to do things that would, begin to rebuild confidence in our nation, that the people we elected were elected to lead and not elected to loot. Otherwise, one day we would all be in trouble.
Oh, interesting. Well, on the same paper, they are talking about ECOWAS defense meeting on Niger being postponed. A planned meeting by West African chiefs of defense staff to discuss the coup in Niger has been postponed at short notice. The talks called by the regional bloc ECOWAS had been expected to take place in Ghana's capital, Accra, on Saturday. No reason was given for the delay. On Thursday, West African leaders ordered a standby military force to be activated in readiness to store to restore civilian rule in Niger. The takeover in Niger, led by soldiers belonging to the Presidential Guard, is just the latest in a string of coups that have taken place in recent years. Do you sometimes feel worried about what's happening in Niger? And what do you think is the best way that ECOWAS and Africa can really deal with this rising trend of coups?
Well, of course, the development in Niger is worrying, and it's also because it adds to Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea.
Yeah.
And so the increasing coup d'etats is something that certainly must be worrying to everyone. We all love democracy. We all believe that democracy is the best form of governance. That is, if it is made to be a true democracy. I think that there are a number of questions to be asked in relation to the ECOWAS's the strategies or measures that the ECOWAS is talking about. The first question would be, why Niger? Mali happened. ECOWAS didn't adopt what it is talking about in terms of military intervention. Burkina happened. ECOWAS basically did sanctions, condemnations, and so on. Guinea happened. ECOWAS did sanctions, condemnations, and all. Then Niger happens. Then they say we would intervene militarily and reinstall the president, into power. So the question to ask is it that when they finish Niger, then they will come to Burkina and then intervene militarily and then bring back the deposed president, and then they will go to Guinea and do the same thing and bring back Alpha Condé? Or what are they really talking about? Because people will ask, why Niger? Is it because, the military of Niger can be easily conquered? Otherwise, why Niger? That is the first point. The second point is that, is ECOWAS really, and these member countries, are they really ready for the humanitarian consequences of a military intervention? Are we ready to deal with the massive humanitarian consequences that would be the consequence of a military intervention? I doubt we will be able to do that. The other point is that, do we as individual nations have the resources to commit to this mission? Now we're talking about Ghana. Ghana would contribute, certainly, and Ghana would be one of the major contributors if ECOWAS were to do the military intervention in Niger. Do we have the resources? A country under IMF, a country whose central bank and finance ministry is now being supervised by external actors. Do we have the resources? I doubt that we'll be able to do that. The other point for me is it the case that when we intervene in Niger and the preventive measures that need to be put in place are not put in place, and there is another coup d'etat in another country, are we going to intervene with the military? And then if there is another one, are we going to intervene? I doubt the military intervention is something that would work. What ECOWAS has to do, first of all, is to immediately adopt measures to prevent any further coup d'etats in any of the other member states.
Okay.
We shouldn't assume that Niger is the last, because the conditions that foment these coup d'etats are all over. The Niger coup d'etat, for me, was a matter of when and not if it was going to happen, because the signs were so clear. And yet ECOWAS was quiet. In Guinea, Alpha Condé's regime killed several people who were basically defending democracy by going on the streets to protest against the change of the constitution for Alpha Condé to go for a third term. When the people were being killed for defending democracy, nobody talked. Then when Alpha Condé succeeded in changing the constitution in an undemocratic fashion and prolonged himself in power, and he was ousted, then we're being told that, democracy was being undermined. So when citizens are defending democracy, it doesn't matter. And then when the leaders abuse the democratic process to stay in power and they are removed, is that when we then see that democracy is being undermined? So ECOWAS, I believe, has to take steps to prevent any further coup d'etats from happening.
Okay.
By telling them, leaders telling themselves the truth, that look, democracy is not just about leaders being elected. Democracy is about human rights. Democracy is about freedom of expression. Democracy is about empowering the people. Democracy is about getting people have their basic needs. Democracy is about good leadership. Until these things are done, we can just say that, yes, we are in a democracy because leaders are elected, and yet the threat of coup d'etats would remain. On Niger, on Mali, on Burkina Faso, the first thing we have to do is to prove to the citizens of these countries that those countries that are under democratic rule, the citizens are better, the countries are better, and citizens' human rights are better. So that at least the democracy we're talking about will become attractive to the citizens of these people.
Okay.
By the end of the day, governance is about the citizens of the people.
Okay, all right. So that's it there. But let me take you to the back page of the Chronicle newspaper. It says, government retooling over 200 labs for STEM education. Now, the government of Ghana, through the Ministry of Education, is retooling over 200 senior science laboratories in existing senior high schools across the country in a major push to enhance science education in the country. This comes as part of Ghana's effort to reposition Ghana's education to produce a critical mass of assertive and empowered Ghanaian students equipped with the essential skills for socio-economic transformation, the Ministry of Education has said. The ministry, with a significant step towards fostering a conducive learning environment for future scientists and innovators, is also spearheading the construction of new science labs in existing schools and the model STEM schools. This initiative is set to transform the landscape of science education in Ghana and align the country's education in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I guess we're on the right track, right?
Yeah, I mean, STEM around the world is now being prioritized because that's the future of nations. And so it's great to see that in our country, we are also focusing on those same areas of science, technology, engineering and mathematics. And I believe that if we do it and do it well, we would also become competitive in the world. And that is where we have to go. So it's a positive thing that we are doing.
Okay. I guess that, we can check on the schools and see. I'm told that for completed schools, we have Lashibi School, we have Ebri Girls High School, Wesley Girls School first, Wesley Girls School second, Aflao, Apesia, Anglican School New Block, Bosumche first, Anglican School Old Block, Accra Academy, Equiapeman Senior High School, St. James Senior High School, Kumasi Senior High School, and St. Louis Senior High School first and second as well. So these are the places where these science labs have been completed. But I'll let us wrap on I'll beat Mahama hands down. That's according to Alan. Is this something you foresee happening?
Oh, well, I really cannot predict what's going to happen in the 2024 elections. And we, as potential candidates, of course, the NDC has President Mahama as their candidate, and therefore, whoever emerges from the MPP will be contesting Mahama. And, well, I mean, it is within the rights of any of the potential candidates to say they would be the best person to be able to beat President Mahama. Of course, the MPP has the track record of President Akufo-Addo over the last 7 years, and therefore by next year, the 8th year, to deal with. And how they defend that record is up to them. That's all that I can say.
Okay. It looks as though you feel that, I mean, they cannot defend, these records.
Well, I mean, the last time the president himself was upbeat about why the folks who are running to become the party's flag bearer were attacking the record of their own government. And I mean, I was surprised that the president was surprised, because certainly with what has happened over the last 7 years, I don't know how anyone is going to run successfully on this record to be able to win an election. Okay. And so for me, it's not surprising that these candidates would say, look, I mean, I will be different. The vice president himself has had to say that I will have my own vision. When people would expect that, look, he would say, myself and President Akufo-Addo, over the last 7 years, has had some bold vision for this country, and I expect to continue. And so I am not surprised that they are now running away from their track record, and perhaps that's the best thing to do.
Suleiman Ibrahim, I'm grateful to you for joining us here on the News Review segment of the AM Show.
Thank you.
He is the Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa, and grateful to him for spending his time with us this morning. And thanks to you too for joining us. We'll take a quick break. We have more for you here on the AM Show. Stay with us.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullah. We are in the election season for Ghana Football Association as the atmosphere descends to the very fiber of all stakeholders involved in the governance of football in their country. Incumbent president of the Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okreko, says delegates should give an opportunity to steer the affairs of the football governing body for the next 4 years because he believes with him, Ghana football is in safe hands.
The trusted hand, the trusted leader is the one speaking to all of you. People believe in the leadership. That's the reason why they are here. They trust the leadership. That's why they are here. Most importantly, they trust in the vision of the leader. That's why they are here. And they are here, and we are here to again say one thing: we are together. We are together in good times. We are together in bad times. Our game will go through bad times, but our game will go through a lot of good times. Our collective future is very bright. We have to be patient. We have to come together as a family, because that's the essence of being part of this association. My hands are open. I said this at Congress. I welcome the other mind at all times, because it is the strength that I pick from the other mind that makes this family a unique and strong family.
He says a unique and strong family, but George Afriyie disagrees. According to him, many people are ready to contest for the position of Executive Council of the Ghana Football Association. And that is a message that has been sent out there that the leadership of the Ghana Football Association are not doing the right thing. Because if they were doing the right thing, no one would be interested in contesting them to be out of power. He says that if the people within Ghana football believes that Kurt Okreko is doing the right thing, then there's no need for him to contest for the position of president of the Ghana Football Association.
If you look at the number of people who are clamoring to become ESCO members, it's enough justification telling you that everything is not right. If the people who want to contest the Executive Council position think that Mr. Okreko has done well, then let us also withdraw, and all of us go and back them, plus the Executive Council. If they have done so well, then I expect everybody who has picked form to contest the Executive Council to drop. If they drop, I'll be the first to drop. Then everything is fine. Let's rally behind our boss. Let's rally behind our FA president, and then move Ghana football forward. Because that is what I stood for 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we were going to the third round when I considered defeat. And I said that everybody should follow Mr. Kurt Okreko. He has my support, and I expect everybody to support him. It didn't end there. The next morning I pick a phone and say, boss, you are now my boss. You are the FA president. You have my support. Count on me. I did a live video, told everybody that, but what do we see today? We don't matter. Now it is them against us. Our football is divided. In the coming days, the news will come out. Our manifesto will come out. Our vision will come out. The true situation of our football will come out, and we'll let everybody know.
And so far, it seems the prices has increased slightly. And just as you can see behind me, the place is empty. So I have the chairman here of the Progressive Onions Association, and I want him to tell us more. All right, Sumaila, so how has the Niger border, the closure of the border, been affecting the onion selling here?
Good morning, viewers. Close of the border has affected us a lot because we bought onions and we've loaded. We have over 75 cars standing on the border, and it has affected our business. Since you can see the market, it is empty, simply because of the coup. So it has affected us a lot.
Okay. And has there been any price increase? Because last week I was in the market and I realized that there was a slight increase, but how has it been today?
Yeah, the price has gone up small because last week we were selling 1,200, 1,150, but now we are selling 1,400 and 1,450.
Okay. And do you have any goods on the way, onion to be precise?
Yeah, yesterday that they've talked to the ambassador and they've opened the border, so some of the cars are on their way coming, but they didn't reach yet. Okay. Yeah.
And how much do you think you'd be losing in terms of cost? Because that was last week and it's been there for long. Yeah. How much do you think you are going to lose as a result of this?
Really, but onions, it's a rotten goose. So unless it comes, but we know by almost we will lose a lot because we know plenty will spoil. And since if it is spoiled, by almost we have to reduce it. We will not get the price that we bought there, and we have to reduce it and sell it. So we will lose a lot. Yeah.
All right. So let me go right to the the vice chairman of the Progressive Onion Sellers Association. Do you think the prices are likely to go up if this continues?
The price is already go up. And now we are selling it, the liter of the brand are selling it 1,500. And Benin border, last 2 days, they opened it small and the onions come and they have locked it again. And a lot of the cars go in Chuk at Burkina. So about 45 cars are blocked in Burkina about 5 days now. And they said they will do escort up to now. So our life is miserable. All our monies, if you come to the market, your life a graveyard. So it's not easy.
Okay. So personally, when I came here, it looks like the place is very empty. Why is that?
Because of the onion. We are exporting it to Ghana here, and there's no onion. If not, those cars come out. And onions, the moment they keep long in the car, there's heat. It will spoil. The moment the onions, tomatoes, we are the same. So they supply to Burkina. All the cars go block at Burkina there, and we have nothing to do. They say they will escort there about 6 days now. They say they will escort every day. The cars are there. The cars are, we are even don't know what to do. And the little they bring to the market, we are selling 1,000, 1,001, 1,200. Now it's 1,005. And it's not even more. It's the local one that they harvest small that they even bring to the market. It's not even plenty. And all the ladies, they will guess one people will be fighting on it. So we are appealing to the government to see to Burkina so that they will open the border and escort the cars to Ghana here for us. If we go there, it's only Ghana cars. There's no car from anywhere. We are pleading to the government.
All right. Now, I'm coming back to you, Sumaila. He was talking about the local onions. Do you think that would be an alternative?
Yeah, the local onions, it is good because if government is to support us, we will do much here. That one too will be helping the country. For example, at Agogo side like this, we have plenty land there whereby we can farm the onions and we can produce more. But due to money circumstance, so if government can help us, so that we too will be doing our own.
Just as you heard from the sellers and the main leaders inside the Ajen Kotoku onion market right here, the closure of the Niger border is really affecting their business, and they are pleading with government to come to their aid. For Joy News, Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah.
All right, so welcome back, and let's talk about what's happening in Niger, but focus more on the impact on our nation in terms of our food security. Already, you heard in that video we played that the onion importer speaking to Jacqueline there, that what's happening in Niger has already started taking a bite on us in Ghana. Today, I'm told the price of onion keeps increasing by the minute because they are not able to bring in onions as they used to. But the question is, should we have gotten here to see that there is the need for us to look at alternatives to this? And what is the way out of this? And so today around this table, we're looking for solutions. How to deal with the issue about onion importation or making onion available on your table. Now, joining me for this discussion is Enyonam Manye. She's a Ghanaian farmer who is cultivating 45 acres of sweet potato. She's a producer and host of the Ghanaian Farmer TV show on Joy Prime. She's my guest this morning. Enyonam, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Just that I'm not happy.
About
the situation.
Okay.
This has been an old story. This has been happening year after year.
Okay.
Shortage of this because there's a problem in this particular country. Price hikes in this commodity because there's a problem in that country. The question is, can't we do it ourselves? We can. Somewhere this year, I hosted some Nigerians who came for agrotourism. And as we were moving, I took them to the western region, we're going to the Volta region, and they kept saying, Madam, Ghana, you people have land, oh. What are you doing with the land? So we have land. We have the farmers. My brother, if you see the number of young people on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on YouTube who DM me every time, Enyonam, for what you do, we are attracted to go into that space. But we lack the logistics.
Okay.
Logistics such as access to land. Some even have the land, but things as land preparation, the tractor. For me, where I'm producing my sweet potato, the orange flesh, to plow an acre cost me between 400 to 500 cedis for 1 acre.
1 acre.
Now,
and you're doing 45.
Exactly. And the vines for 1 acre, sweet potato vines, for the quality I want for the international market, it cost me 3,500.
For an acre?
For 1 acre. That's minus paying for the land. That the land alone also cost me 500 cedis for 1 acre. So multiply times the 45 I'm doing. I'm not saying anybody to go and do sweet potato, but that's how much it's costing around the Sege area. So imagine if you go to another area. We've not talked about fertilizer yet. We've not talked about the pesticide and the weedicide yet. Labor. Each person charge you per an acre. The planting.
You're even getting your land cheap. You said it's 500 acres.
500
cedis.
Yes.
Per acre.
Yes. So the prices varies depending on the community you find yourself.
Because 500 is on the low side.
Good for me.
Exactly. If you
Good
find
for
yourself
me.
in the western region area where I'm quite used to, I mean, you won't get it for 500.
It'll be more than that. I know.
Exactly, yeah.
It'll be more than that. So it depends on the accessibility of the land. It depends on the financial power of the youth. And then it depends on expertise also available. How many commercial farms are even there for young people to go and train, have the practical knowledge before even zooming in? Because, my brother, farming, it goes beyond just putting seed into the soil.
Yeah.
It is a lot of things that goes into
we'll
it.
zoom into the
Of course,
the
we
whole
will.
thing
Yes.
about the onion. But you see, I'm interested in a lot of young people are watching us now, and we've all been talking about how do we get young people to go into farming.
Yeah.
So meeting someone like you is really an interesting thing we need to explore. How were you able to come by the funding? Because listening to the 500, 3,000, a lot of that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
So I was already producing the Ghanaian farmer, making some income from consulting for people who call from abroad. So mainly my clients are from abroad. Oh, Enyonam, we've watched this video on YouTube. We want to go into this. Can you help us with consulting? So I get some small income from there. YouTube itself give you some income from the eyeballs that watch the video on the channel. Then also you get people sending you maybe, I have this commodity, or I have this video about fertilizer, or this thing, post for me. So whilst I was going through the region by region, interviewing and discussing farming related issues with farmers, I kept hearing of each person's budget, how much an acre or 2 acres would cost you. So I was working my way. So the young people who involve me, I tell them, listen, if you're already working, let's say you're a corporate farmer, a corporate worker, and you want to go into farming, you should visit some already existing farming. Ask questions. How much will it cost me to plant an acre of habanero? How much will it cost me to produce an acre of okra, onion, or tomatoes? They will be able, graciously enough, to tell you, this is how much it costs. So you plan towards it. Everything is about planning. Because the truth is that here in Ghana, the governments would not donate money to support young people. I mean, some time ago, we heard about fertilizer subsidy. How did it go? If you meet farmers and you talk to them about, did you enjoy this, enjoy that? Subsidy. Some said yes, some said no. So you do not think about or rely on external support. Your own way is find something doing, save, get the necessary checks, researches done on how much you would need. Then that way you can now start. It is easy. I mean, I wanted to do 5 acres. That was my plan, just 5 acres. But because of the credibility I had built, and I always tell young people, if you want to go to somebody to give you loan to do something, there has to be evidences. One of the major reasons why young people are not getting funding to also do farming is that there are no proper record keeping. I have interviewed over 300 farmers, and just a handful will tell you, okay, I've registered my farm. Okay, I have an account created in the name of the farm. So whatever it is, even being 5,000 is what I used as my startup capital. If you go through my record, you see the 5,000 there. So in the absence of this, trust me, nobody will give you funding. And that is the issue between financial institutions and our farmers. Lack of proper record. How do I search for your farm online? If you Google Ghanaian farmer, I am everywhere. How am I going to run away if you give me money? I am there. If you want to visit the farm, I would take you. If you want to see how much I've spent so far ever since we start, everything is on my Excel, on my laptop. So every money I pay to my supplier, it is there. Every time I spend, buy fuel to visit the farm is there. Fertilizer, it is there. Laborers come and I buy KK and things for them to eat, it is there. So if we're looking for funding, being it international partners, being it from financial institutions or even government, there have to be traces of these things. If not, we would still wait around waiting for money and you won't get it.
So what do you think is our problem? That, as you said, this onion thing is an old developing story. We've not been able to overcome, and today we are confronted with the reality that we need to pay more for a commodity that we could be paying less because someone else is fighting,
their
an internal problem.
So you see, like I was telling you that this story has been from 2017. I'm sure if maybe beyond that, before that, it's been happening. It would interest you to know that in Niger they produce 1 million metric tons of onions annually. And guess the percentage that Ghana buys from them? Almost 43% of that production is bought by Ghanaians. Now, City FM did a story going about interviewing the traders as to why they always go for these onions instead of helping to sell the domestic ones or the ones produced by our farmers. They said, one, theirs is sweet. It also is not as harsh as in when you're chopping it for cooking. It doesn't enter into your eyes like the Ghanaian one. And also that one is produced on time. I was talking to a farmer when I saw the video that, hey, are you doing rain-fed farming or irrigation? He said, oh, I know I'm doing irrigation. I said, on how many acres? He said, about 3 acres. And I said, how much did it cost you to invest into the irrigation? He said, so even that's the normal one. It cost me about 10,000. How many young farmers or rural farmers can afford 10,000? So it means that when you go to Adan East District, 3 years ago, I was there to celebrate my 1 year and donate some farming equipment. Majority of the things they were asking for is irrigation pump machines. And I asked them why. They said, well, we are blessed to have the water lake, running around our community. So if you give us the pump, we'll be able to connect and do our farming. Listen, I called them a few days ago. Have you started producing? He said, we are now harvesting. But the traders start trading the whole year.
Yeah.
From January up until now, the trader is trading. He needs commodity to sell. But the farmer is now harvesting. How then do you expect the traders to do business with somebody who is relying on rain to produce their commodity? So until stakeholders like government, like private institutions, like anybody who has an interest in agricultural development, we have to consider putting investment into technology, which irrigation is part of this. Until we support farmers to have these basic irrigations on their farm. Listen, we would always wait till somewhere May, June, July when the rains, as I'm talking to you, I'm a rain-fed farmer. I'm waiting for the rains to come to do my first fertilizer. Yesterday, it rained. So I called my farm manager this morning. Hello, Chris. The rains. He said, no, madam. I'm worried. But at least I had some amount of rain in the soil. And of course, I have a little bit of dam. The landowner was gracious enough to have a dam on the land. So all I need now is to find money and invest into irrigation so that I can irrigate my crops. Do you understand? Do you see the inconvenience that Ghanaian smallholder farmers are going through to produce even the ones you see on the market? So if government is saying that we have interest in farming, farming is the backbone of the economy, farming creates one of the biggest jobs in Ghana, then what are you doing? Is it all about talk shops?
It looks like that's how it's been, because over the years, we say, oh, we'll do this to the agricultural sector. We'll build mechanization systems, we'll build this, but we don't really see it. So, in fact, it's become a
talk show. That's it.
That's what we do normally. Yeah, the policies will be beautiful on paper.
Of course.
But when it comes to implementation, we have a challenge there. So, it means that over the years, we knew the opportunities in there. Because look, we've been growing onions a very long time.
Very long time.
So, if we think that people love a certain variety, why don't we develop it or go for it and
that's it.
Yeah.
So one of the things, that's why training, you hear we are training this farmers, we are training that. But when you go into the market, you get to hear the variety that consumers want from these traders. So how about inviting these farmers from these neighboring countries to come and conduct some form of training to our farmers? This is how we go about our production. This is the variety we are producing. So how about some of you trying few samples and let's see if consumers' taste would change towards that one. If we know what it is that consumers want, what is stakeholders doing about it?
You see, we even have the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority.
Exactly.
Sometimes I really wonder what exactly it is they do. Well, they are doing certain things, but how proactive are they really? To look for an area and look at what they could do to support farmers. Because since I started learning agric, I've heard about this rain-fed agriculture. How many years now? So many years.
So many years.
And we're still, faced with this whole challenge about rain-fed agriculture. When we know the impact irrigation can do.
Exactly.
So this Ghana Irrigation Development Authority could even, take it upon themselves as a project. Like where you are, they could come to you and construct a small dam for you or an irrigation system, and then you pay off. After all, every harvest, there's a percentage of the harvest that goes to them.
Farmers are always open for such opportunities.
So when you do that, it means if today you are producing, say, 4,500 tons per harvesting, you could do like 90 or even times 3.
Exactly.
And who wouldn't agree to, doubling my output and me having to pay something small to you?
I wonder who will not agree to such an offer.
No. You see, I even read that we had an irrigation coming from the lower, the Pra River towards Commander because of the sugar factory.
Yeah.
Today, if you go there, and I'm sure if you want to trace the lines, we won't find them.
Of course.
Because we're a country that is really, because of our lack of commitment, we've not really been able to say, let's protect some of the things that we do. So the agric sector has a lot of potential. And I read that, like you, a lot of young people should come in and all of that. they need the support of the agencies responsible for agriculture to ensure that they increase their production. Because if today you are producing 4,500 and a help comes in and you're producing 9,000, you know the impact you can.
The impact, I mean, the jobs that will be created, resources that people are going to make from it, and then sending it out, and the money that will be coming into Ghana as well. You definitely, at the end of the day, pay some tax at the end of the day. So agriculture, everybody knows the true potential of agriculture. It's not just about the farming. We have those who do the value addition. We have those who do the buying and selling. We have the workers who are there making their own. We have the exporters as well. So the value chain is very huge. And so all I keep saying is that a lot of young people who want to go into agriculture, if you do not have money to start the farming itself, find a space within the value chain and occupy there. There are a lot of farmers who have harvested commodities. Trust me, a few days ago on Twitter, a gentleman inboxed me, have 5 acres of lady's finger, the very slim and long one. I want to sell. I'm harvesting tomorrow. Can you help me get buyers? And listen, if you're a young person, you want to go into farming, this will not help you. Right from the word go, when you identified what you want to cultivate, when you identified the land, and maybe you are in the process of doing soil testing and doing your budgeting, you should create visibility. Visibility as in create platform, digital platforms, and start advertising. So and so farms produce okra, we produce onion, tomatoes. If you want us to deliver to you, you want us to be your supplier, reach out to us. So please, the farmers who are complaining about, I've come to understand the reason why post-harvest loss has become an issue. Honestly, it should not be a problem. If only farmers would pay attention as to how they will help or find themselves doing marketing. It should not be difficult. I have people who are always reaching out. There are buyers who are looking for the producers. But how do they find you? If you are in Kumasi, or you are in the Volta region, or you are in the Central region, and you produce a certain kind of vegetable, and you are not out there, you are not visible, how do they find you to do business with you? If you make yourself visible enough, then selling would not be a challenge. You understand? So there is a lot of solutions out there, but we need everybody to play their role. So for me, before the word go for me to even go and lease my land, I had to meet my off-taker.
Okay. So it means that one thing that we cannot do, for example, these onion guys, they are complaining that they don't have onion, right? A farmer can then go to them, strike a deal and say, I'm going to produce it for you. On a large scale, this amount.
Exactly.
And then you go into, because you know you already have an off-taker.
Yes.
Signed agreement with the onion traders.
That's it.
So you cultivate.
Ask them the variety they want.
Yeah.
So for me to settle on orange flesh sweet potato, I had to ask my off-taker, if you want me to produce for you, which variety do you want? He says, Enyonam, I want orange flesh. That is what my consumers want. So I just didn't assume that everybody eats sweet potato, so I'm going to produce sweet potato. At the end of the day, nobody will buy, or you will not get the expected amount you're looking for. I have another farmer posted on Twitter saying that I have this habanero ready. We've already harvested, but the market women have come around and they are determining the price. Yes, that's how it's going to go. Because right from the word go, even the habanero, we have varieties. We have the small ones and the big ones.
So you should know a variety.
Exactly. Are you selling the ripe one or the green one?
I think it even starts from your customer.
Thank you.
Who are you selling to?
So farming has changed.
When you determine your customer, then you determine the variety or the taste of your customer.
That's it.
And then you cultivate to meet the taste. So very interesting here. But let me bring in Dr. Charles Nyaba. He is the president of the Peasant Farmers Association Ghana. And of course, you'll soon be a member if you're not already.
I know, Doctor. Doctor is my very good friend.
All right. Doc, grateful for you to join us here. What do you think is a real problem confronting us now that, Niger, because of the issue there, we are complaining that it has impacted negatively on the availability of onions in Ghana. What has been really the challenge why we have to be where we are today?
Yeah, good morning, Kojo, and let me say good morning to Enyonam, my good friend, Ignewa.
Yes, Doc.
So how do you feel yourself as a Ghanaian who read agriculture those days in basic school, like Ghana in terms of its richness in natural resources, including agricultural resources. How do you feel if a small country like Niger has crisis and then we'll be sitting here complaining? Okay, so it's something, sometimes I feel so bad about it. I think we shouldn't have even gotten to this point. But it is because we are over-dependent on certain cross commodities, neglecting very important commodities that we all need in our households on a daily basis.
Okay.
The focus of agricultural investment in Ghana is where? Cocoa. Recently, cashew. When you check planting for food and jobs, the major investment commodity among all the crops is maize, soybeans, and rice.
Yeah.
All our traditional commodities that are very useful for our household consumption were all ignored. Okay? So it is a reason why today we will sit here crying when Burkina has problem with the tomato supply. When Niger has crisis, we have to also cry. Ghana is well endowed in terms of fertile lands for onions production, in terms of water bodies for onions production. But we've not paid attention to that. When you go to the white water basin around Boko, Polgo, Zebla area, you see fantastic things the women are doing in terms of onions production. You marvel. Okay? You take the whole of our plain, the lands are very fertile for production of over hundreds of acres of onions production. Last week, I was in a meeting with the onions importers and then those who produce around atomic area. And they are saying that, look, they don't even want to go there. Majority of them were around Boku area farming. They came to Accra and they are going around atomic land, those areas. But because of certain structural constraints, they have now to start to go into Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso to bring these onions. And according to them, if they are able to negotiate with government, and government is ready to address those problems, we'll be able to meet the demand of the local market. And what are our major constraints? Enyonam was talking about the seeds. The seeds that our farmers rely on, that's the Bokure. It's a low yielding, even though short variety, but it's low yielding. But the pink one that we bring from Niger, Mali, and Burkina, that one is high yielding. But the seeds, you are not able to produce them here. All the seeds, we import them from Niger.
Yeah.
Okay.
A bottle of the seed is going for 250 Ghana cedis. You need about 3 to 5 of that to do 1 acre. Onions is a crop that needs intensive attention.
Yeah.
It has to be intensive. You have to monitor in terms of the pest control, in terms of weed control, in terms of water supply. So most of the farmers who are producing in Ghana are doing less than 1 acre. It's not like they can't do, but they don't have the capacity to do more. So for the last week conversation that I had intensively with them, we all concluded that, look, if we get government support, we'll be able to actually scale up production from 1 acre to 5 acres per farmer. The atomic area we are already doing, they leave the land to us. 1 acre will pay 2,000 for 1 acre to produce onions around atomic area. But even with that, the other constraints that we face, they are not able to get the maximum yield like people are getting in Niger, Egypt, and other places. We are getting around actually 3 to 5 tons, even though MOFA is estimating between 15 to 19 tons. And even with that, Niger are getting 35 tons per acre, per hectare. Egypt, they are making over 40 tons per hectare. And we are doing between 5 tons per hectare. How can we compete? And it's not because our lands are no good, it's just because of those constraints to be able to do the good farming practices that will give us that yield that is lacking.
So Doc, let's take it one after the other. You're talking about the fact that the variety we have is low yielding, and that if we want to have that in Niger, we need to import them. I mean, the seeds. Why haven't our scientists been able to develop that kind of variety that will be suitable to our conditions here and give us the yield? Because today, who is relying on low yielding seeds anyway? Everybody is moving on to improved seed variety. So what is really the challenge in us producing the seeds that we need to give us the desired outcome as is being done in Niger?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I think our attention hasn't actually been on certain crops. So even though CSI released a number of varieties for maize, rice, tomatoes, but when you come to onions, I doubt if any research is done to improve the variety that we are using. So attention has not been there, and government itself has not actually invested in onions production. But it's one of the high value crops that as a farmer to do it to make profit. So it's attention and the investment in research to come out with the variety that is high yielding.
So as we're discussing this, if we want to overcome the challenge, do we still have to rely on Niger in the meantime? Or we can get, say, UCC or KNUST to look into it and to see if they can give us that sort of seed that we need here?
Yeah, so in a very short term, I think we still have to rely in Niger for the seeds. You know, varietal release usually takes between 3 to 5 years before they will be able to come out with the variety that they want to release. So that will take some time. But in a very short run, once we have the land, our problem has to do with the cost of production, the inputs, and then the water.
Okay.
What government needs to do immediately is to ensure that we get the seed for the farmers. I mean, the farmers are not going to take it for free. All the outgrowers that I deal with, I provide them with the seed, the fertilizers. When they produce, they pay back in kind, and they are very happy with that.
Yeah.
So we are looking at getting it to the farmers on credit, and when they produce, they pay back. The other area that we also want to look at quickly has to do with the irrigation system. We are not saying that government will go and start digging dams for onions production. We already have the water body. So when you go there, most of the farmers who can afford are buying water pumps. But those who cannot are using buckets to go and carry the water to go and water their farm. So if you can support these farmers with a small input, okay, small equipment, small water pumps, so that you'll be able to draw the water to their farm, that will help. Our farm plains and Agogo areas are also very good for this onions production. But because we've not supported the same constraints like those in the Upper East are facing, if we can support them with water pumps, irrigation facilities, to be able to draw this water to their farms, it will add on a lot to our agriculture GDP, and that's the area that was not looked at. The other area has to do with the pesticide, the pest control. The pesticides are very expensive for onions, so we need to also look at those areas and pesticides they use to go in there. I think even our extension officers are not paying attention to this cost. So we need to also sensitize them to pay more attention and encourage farmers to go in. The aggregators that Enyonam was talking about, aggregators are on the standby. It's an opportunity. I'm encouraging all of them to come in. I will introduce them to the farmers, and I think with a small support, they'll realize that it's not only me that you can make profit from, but you can also make profit from a crop like onion.
I mean, so once we are on irrigation, let me bring in this from the Irrigation Development Authority. It says, currently, there are 22 irrigation projects all over the country constructed by the authority, covering a total of 6,505 hectares. In addition to this, there are 22 schemes constructed under the Small Scale Irrigation Development Project and 6 schemes under the Small Farms Irrigation Project. You mentioned small farms.
Yeah.
Each of these projects is less than 1,000 hectares in size, with the exception of the Tono and Pon irrigation project, which have about 2,500 hectares and overdeveloped. Let me find out from Doc, and then I'll come back to you. So, Doc, these are the numbers that the Irrigation Development Authority is quoting. Are these enough? I mean, in the meantime?
They are not enough. And not to discredit those irrigation facilities you are talking about, some of them are not actually serving the purpose for which they are supposed to. Okay? Some of them are constructed in a place that they are only used for livestock. Some of them are can only be used for domestic purposes. I don't know whether these irrigation numbers you are talking about include the one village, one dam. If they include the one village, one dam dams, those dams, majority of them are not actually serving the purpose. There are many of them who are currently, the farmers are using them to grow rice because there is no water at the reservoir. So, fine, those numbers could be there, but most of them are actually not serving the purpose for which they were constructed.
Well, so it means that the numbers that the irrigation development is putting out there aren't enough. Let me bring in Dr. Kusi. He is with the University of Cape Coast. Dr. Kojo Kusiyamwa is an agronomist. And look, whatever we're doing, whether you are into food crops or you're into tree crops, you need an agronomist to help you out. Yeah. He is with the Department of Crop Science, University of Cape Coast. That's where I trained. Doc, good morning and great to have you. Doc, you might have to unmute so we can follow what you're telling us. Okay.
Yes, it's already on mute.
Okay, so it's fine. Doc, what are our production capacity, in terms of volumes in Ghana and the yields we do have? Mr. Nyaba is saying that, Niger is able to do 80 tons and we are doing 25 tons. So there's a huge gap. Let's look at the trends and how we can overcome the challenges.
Right. I might not take you too far from 1960 to 2003. We can do just about some 10 years back. And you realize that production in terms of land size, in terms of per hectare basis has increased. Yes, it has increased. But when you compare it to what is happening in Niger, you realize that we are doing way low. As the other colleague said, that Niger is doing about 60 to 65 sometimes. Now they have been increased to about 80 tons per hectare. We are doing about 18 to 20 tons per hectare. So you realize that the production is on the low side when we compare to where we are importing our onions from, that is Niger. We are not only importing onions from Niger, but the huge sums of them come from Niger. We are also importing from China. We are importing from Netherlands. We are importing from Morocco and Nigeria.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. But so what is our our consumption capacity? How much is it, and how much are we doing in the country, such that we will know the gap, and for people like Enyonam to know that then there's an opportunity in there that I can tap into. Okay, so we'll go back to Doc later. But if you listened to him there, it means that we are importing from a lot of countries.
Exactly. Oh, but Niger is not the only country we produce
which from. Means that there's a huge gap there.
Yes. Even in Togo, recently I was driving to my farm and I had to stop by the women who sell along the road to ask the price of tomatoes. So after I looked at the tomato, it was very hard, very fresh. And I said, oh, so this is from your farm? He said, no. We've not started harvesting yet, so we are now buying this from Togo.
Okay.
Do you understand? So it means that Togo, Niger, even coconut, we get from Abidjan. Côte d'Ivoire.
Coconut?
Oh, we don't have enough coconut. I said we buy from Abidjan.
They should go to my place. We have a lot there.
We buy from Côte d'Ivoire. There's a client in the UK who wants coconuts in Ghana, and the farmers cannot, supply.
Oh, okay.
Because we are underproducing. Yes, we are underproducing. It is the same story everywhere. Even the commercial farmers, they need enough to be able to scale up. Okay? So how about 1 acre, 2 acre farmer? How much? Dr. Naba told you that even the vegetable, they do about 1/4 acre or 1/2 acre. Because for the farmer, the seed, the quality of seed they need is one factor. It's very expensive. If you want quality seed, that the shelf life of the commodity will last long, then you have to invest into hybrid seed. And hybrid seed are expensive. The local seed, when you have it, in a day, 2, 3, 5 days maximum, it starts, losing its quality. And so a lot of people do not want to spend so much on seed or let's say commodities that will not stay so long. Do you understand? So our production is one problem because of the logistical or infrastructure challenge that we have already. All right? And so moving forward, like Dr. Naba is saying, we need a lot more to be done. Yes, there might be, you were quoting some figures from the irrigation people and all that. But these things have to be done strategically. I know vegetables run through the whole country. So long as you have water and a few things, you can do vegetables. But let's look at the hubs of vegetables. Where the vegetables are producing, where they are producing in huge volumes. How can we support them? So if you have irrigation at certain places that vegetable farmers are not there, how do they benefit? Let's be strategic in terms of the infrastructure sharing so that everybody can benefit. It's not about politics or let's say this is where we get our huge volumes of vote from, so let's go and put it there when people are not there to benefit. Do you understand? There are a lot of people who have the interest to scale up their production, but it goes beyond just the interest. You need to buy quality seed. And he said pest issues. Our agronomists who go around helping farmers, they are doing their bits. But knowledge-wise, are their capacity being built to that level? There was a farmer who called me from somewhere in the western region and sent me images of his tomato saying, Enyonam, my tomato is turning this color. I've called the agronomist or I've called somebody to come and help me, but they are not coming. What do I do? Imagine such a farmer. At the end of the day, if he doesn't get help on time, he end up, getting frustrated and saying, you know what, this thing I'm not doing again. So first of all, we have inadequate extension officers in this country. It's been a long story. It's like that's the importation. We've talk about it. There are some of them who have graduated and are even home. They are not being posted, just like the nurses who are running away to abroad to go and work.
So
they are exactly. An extension officer called me recently. They said, Enyonam, is that where you can help me to travel outside the country? Yes, I want to go and further my education and work as well. I watched a video recently on DW, seeing young people who are working on certain plantations and come and see the trouble they are going through. So for the challenges in the agri sector,
there are a lot.
It is a lot, but we need the country or we need the sector, the ministry to sit up. Look, when you go to, let me use just Rwanda here, because I've been there. When you see the connection between young farmers, the ministry, they even have a wing for just young people who are going to farming. And the international partner, I always say the international partners who are here in this country, they are helping, but are they channeling the resources into certain sectors?
You mean the right sectors?
Thank you very much. Yes.
Let me bring in Dr. Kwesi. He's back on Zoom. Doc, I wanted you to look at the, our onion consumption versus our production.
Right. You realize that in our meals as Ghanaians, we can never do without onions. So every day, about 3 times or 2 times a day, we need to use onions in 200 tons compared to what we are producing around 150,000 metric tons. So we need about
well, it looks like Doc's line doesn't work.
There's a challenge with the network.
Exactly. But I heard him say we need like 200,000 tons.
Yeah.
And then we are producing
less than that. So like I'm telling you, there are a lot of interest. But these key challenges, these resources, there are programs that are being run. Yes, so young people can know, okay, which proposal do I write? Which institution is supporting what? For World Food Program.
So if I understand you, it's the right targeting we're not doing.
Exactly.
With the initiative.
Yes.
It's the right targeting.
I mean, if you bring an initiative as the ministry, let's say ministry bring an initiative and you don't target, you don't group it, okay? Let's do grouping. This line of young people are into this, these people are into this, these people are into this. How then do we judicially use the resources that you are channeling out?
All right. Thank you. Dr. Kwesi is back. Doc, your line is really trying to, is dealing with you this morning. But let us know. I heard you mention some 200,000 as in our demand, and then you mentioned another figure as our capacity. Let's hear them again.
Yeah, what I was saying is that our consumption is way huge than
the production.
50,000 metric tons in terms of our consumption, but we are producing only about 150,000.
Okay, we'll raise Doc on phone so we can have a good conversation. But Sumala Idi is chairman of Progressive Onion Sellers.
Okay.
So he can help us really get into what the real issues are. Sumala, grateful for joining us, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. So why are you not able to get all of these, the quantity you need from Ghana?
Good morning, listeners and viewers. I'm speaking from Ajikutku Market, chairman of Progressive. Yeah, it is. You see, it is because of the coup that we didn't get all the goods that we need.
No.
Hello?
No, I want to understand why you don't look within Ghana to get your produce, but you always want to look outside to get them.
Simple because, here we don't have vast land whereby we used to do the farming.
Are you sure we don't have the land?
We have, but it is season by season.
Okay.
Unless after each like this, we do the farming, and this time too we do it at where Agogo, at Farm Place, at Chama, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So if I understand it, your challenge is that in Ghana ours is seasonal, but you want an all year round production.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. So it means that.
So you see.
So the challenge, as we've been discussing,
they cannot wait for you till you are harvesting before they will do their trading.
Okay, so it is not an issue of the variety you need. It is an issue of whether you can have the produce all year round.
Come again?
So for you, it is not an issue of the variety. It is whether you can have the produce in Ghana all year round, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then that's irrigation and all of the issues we've spoken about. So if you get that opportunity to get all of what you need in Ghana throughout the year, you won't travel to anywhere to import onion, right?
No, we will not travel.
Oh.
If we can get the resources to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But have farmers approached you about being able to cultivate it for you in Ghana, and whether you can be able to be of help to them?
Yeah, if only government can help, we'll get people to do it.
You should ask.
Government can help in what kind of help are you looking forward to from government?
It seems government has even started one village, one dam.
Okay.
If they were able to get limited dams for areas whereby they can do the farming, it will help better. And irrigation too.
Okay. All right, you. Chairman, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. So let me bring in Dr. Nyaba. So you heard him there. The issue is that if they get all of the produce in Ghana, they will go for it. They won't go to Niger or wherever to import onion. So now we know that there's a solution coming in. If we can be able to grow the onion here, we'll do it. Where do we start from?
So, Kojo, I don't know your program for tomorrow. Tomorrow, all the onion farmers and aggregators ourselves will be having a meeting in Accra around theatre house we are going to deliberate on some of these issues to see how we'll be able to scale up the production.
Okay.
I'm sure the ministry will also be there. We want to quickly come out with a strategy to increase our production. We think that for me, as a farmer and at the same time, agri-business person and an investor, I see this as an opportunity. We just need to increase investment because demand is there. And for farmers, anytime there is demand, they move from the commodities that have difficulty to sell to those commodities that they can easily get market. So now that these opportunities created, we are coming in and we are also inviting others to come. So where we are starting, just like you asked, is first to come together, identify those areas. We have already identified, and just like you mentioned, Abugo is one of the areas that we've identified. Apparently, is one of the areas. Upper East, along the White Water Basin, one of the areas. The major challenge, when we had our parents meeting last week, I think because of the communication issue, marathon artificial of
Hello, Dr. Yaba. Hello, Dr. Yaba. Okay. All right. So I'm told Dr. Kusi Amwa is back on phone.
Yeah, hello.
Okay, Doc. So now we know the onion sellers are telling us that if they can have the produce in Ghana all year round, they will buy in Ghana, they won't travel anywhere to import it. So we know that at least they have told us what they want. How do we take it from where we are now?
Okay.
But so, if you can again give us the yield again, I mean our capacity and what we need, and then you both on to the question, I'll be happy.
Okay, all right. So I was saying that the consumption is about 250,000 metric tons, but we are producing only about 150,000. So we need about 100,000 metric tons to fill this gap.
Okay.
And how do we do that? We need to find out what Niger, Nigeria, and other countries in in Africa are doing. For example, Egypt is able to do about 60 tons per hectare. But we are only doing about 18 to 20. Okay. So what are they doing that we are not doing agronomically? Number one, are we thinking about irrigating our crops? If we say we are doing all year round, do we have the capacity to do so? If the little land we have, we are not doing things that we are supposed to do, we cannot get the onions all year round. For example, there are some varieties Niger is using, Nigeria is using that we are not using. So we need to set up and say, okay, from the input to the post-harvest handling, what do we need to do? It is not just like we need all year round production. What exactly we are going to put in the production is very, very, very critical. So, for example, let me just bring in another commodity. We are importing tomato from Burkina Faso. Yeah. What is Burkina Faso doing that we cannot do? Is it the seeds, the varieties? Is it the spacing? Is it that they are irrigating? So there are so many issues that we need to look at. I believe strongly that if we improve our agronomic practices, with the little land or the space we are even doing now, we can do more. Let me give you an example. Nigeria is the highest producer of yam in Africa, even in the world.
Okay, all right.
But Ghana is having the highest yield in terms of yam. But the land size we are doing is lower than Nigeria.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so when you look at all these dynamics, we need to look at it from the agronomic point of view. How can we do? Or what are they doing that we are not doing?
Okay, all right. Doc, I'm grateful to you for joining us this morning. Enyonam.
So you see, it's a 360 affair. It's not just from just one angle.
Okay.
Doctor is talking from the angle of agronomists. So we need more of them. And even the old ones that are there, they need capacity building training.
Okay.
They need to know what is the latest thing happening when it comes to agronomy-wise.
Okay.
There are a lot of issues with climate now. How educated, abreast are our Greek officers with issues of climate?
Okay.
So the matter is a big matter.
It's a really big matter. And I think that we need to have a round two discussion.
Of course.
I'm grateful to you for joining us.
You're most welcome.
Enyonam Manye is the Ghanaian farmer herself, and she's the producer and host of the Ghanaian Farmer TV show on Joy Prime. We'll take a break. We'll come back and take you to Kumasi. Okay, so let's go to Kumasi now, because Nana Yaojima is standing by with the development on our Pragya riders who are demanding, they are making several demands of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. Because of that, they've been blocking sections of roads and what have you in the city. What is the update this morning? Nana Yaojima is joining us. So Nana, you are there. What has been happening with the Pragya riders?
This is
all right, so this is the so let's do the citizen microphone now. Nana Yaojima
of Parliament, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, these Pragya drivers or riders decided to resume work, and this time complying with the directive by the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly to restrain from going into the central business district of Kumasi. So as you can see, I'm presently. Hello?
So this is the AM show. Where we are now is a citizen microphone, and we're taking you to the city of Kumasi, where Pragya riders have been making demands of KMA. My colleague Nana Yaojima is standing by. Nana, give us an update on what has been happening with regards to the demands the Pragya riders have been making of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. What's happening this morning?
Mate. So, as I was saying, this is Sawaba, and it's one of the busy areas when it comes to the activities of these Pragya riders. And as you can see, it's their station actually. This is where they are stationed at Sawaba, and from here they move to Tech Junction and other and its environs and other areas within the Kumasi metropolis. Some of them do ply their trade within the central business district, and as you can see, some of them are now stationed and waiting for their passengers to come on board and join and move to their various areas. Within the Zongo communities in Kumasi Metropolis, Pragya or these tricycles are the main source of transportation for these people here. As you can see, this one is almost full. The rider just entered it and they are moving to their destination, I believe Tech Junction. So let me speak to this gentleman on how the business has been so far after the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly restrained them from coming into the central business district, which is one of the areas they mainly ply their trade within Kumasi. Miriam, I'm watching Sena Ejuma City Anopay.
Oh, Ejuma Kosovo, Yamadum, Insonato, but Enfonsa, Ejuma Kosovo.
Last week, you know, my demonstration and every time because Enyonam Manye be. So far, most I resume me. Minister Money Honorable Muntaka Mubarak a meeting. Now, Okache Mose Monsambra Juma. Now many came before and started ending come. No one share senior and also be siako. Emma Mupi na started some more year Juma. Most that say no senior Juma city so far.
Oh, I started Makasa. I used to look akra, but Namadum Asapijan Hokakra. But baby, Mutaka catcher say inside Kijit Edumonde. For now, the Mayan copy say on best of issue no. Yes, we say on a train your back.
So what he is saying is that last week after the meeting with the Honorable Member of Parliament for Asawaso constituency, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, they listened to his suggestion that they resume work outside the central business district. And now work hasn't been as it used to be. They are being restrained from the CBD, and that is problematic. They are hoping that this week things will change. They are waiting for a communication from the Member of Parliament so that if possible they can go back into the central business district. Yes, and issues na esi yenenti aha no nipa we brados mo amoye adwuma e Sawaba Ecotech Junction no tricycles na doso send the city
no ko say on say yemododo na akokrom ko ye adwuma so e ba ne san say ma yanko inside no ama dodo na aba be kai ho ama adwuma no aye slow kakra ko mo na mo kokrom so mo na aba be kai ho an say ma adwuma na aye slow en ko ne tsene na
so according to him, most of the people who were working within the CBD have now come to this area, and this is where they are applying their trade. So it's been very difficult for them who were already stationed here before the directive. Now they have to compete with those new people who have come in for space here at the Sawaba station. So where we are now is that on Friday there was a press release from the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, and the directive was simple, that all the people whose tricycles have been seized should come pay a fine of about a little over 200 cedis and get to claim their tricycles. They should come with one other person who will stand in for them as witnesses that they've come to claim their tricycles so that they can take them back and work. And in that communique, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly said that they will continue to ensure that they restrain these tricycle operators from coming into the CBD to carry out their operations. So it looks like the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly is not ready to soften its stance on the ban on these tricycles. Now, this morning I had some interaction with the leadership of the association. Now, what they are saying is that they are now concentrating on their people who have been arrested by the police when they clashed with them somewhere last week in a protest. These people were remanded by courts on Friday. Tomorrow, they make a second appearance in court. Now, what they are saying is that they've met their lawyers and they believe that when they go to court the second time, they will be able to, the court will be able to grant these people bail so that the process will continue. So they are very expectant. Today at 2:30 p.m., they are expected to meet the Honorable Member of Parliament for Asonwaso constituency, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, on the way forward. The understanding is that the Member of Parliament has been meeting the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly on this directive, and they believe that whatever conclusion that they've reached so far will be communicated to these tricycle riders. Now, the tricycle riders since have also tabled some concerns on how they can work with the KMA to ensure that the KMA rather restrict their movement within the CBD and ensure that they go by the laws or regulations that is set by the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, so that they can also have some level of they can also work within the central business district, which is very good for their operations. So far, this is where we are when we talk about the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly banning the operations of these tricycle riders. As you can see, outside the CBD, Sawaba and other Zongo communities, the tricycles are in active operations. They are working. It's the main source of transport for these people within the Zongo communities, and even how to reach areas, it's the main source of transportation for all these people. I'll try to get to some of the tricycle operators, get some communication or get an interview from some of them and see how work is going so far. Over, we're watching. So far, send a Jumasiko. You say me no kasa. And now ma say adwuma say last week mu je adwuma tum kakra. If you say mu resume send adwuma city.
Adwuma no de ya beka say baby a omka say me yenko no. Eho ama dodo na begu ha sei. Ama meka say yesi emunye adwuma na emunye kura.
In a day. Now utimi ye sales base and also utimi nya say and say no say na eso atena ba say.
E dey meka say da ma boka kura bia 200 ye. Metimi nya. De me yere na me ma de ye bedidi de. Ye benya but isi o ma begu ase no de. Ezu betima boy aye adwuma beduru anadwo bia 11. Nya sa de 200 no kura wonya. Na 200 one year 200 beto fuel send wama. Why is he saying? Now what they saying akufi.
That time na say mo nya adwuma masa 11 anumre no kwa mo. Obeto nya 200 upon.
Ah. Ebia em was 6 and ebe okra upon 5. No onye 200. The ebia obeka so no per trend na say 250 no. No na wato aso. So ebia eda me hu say ebia me ye bibia na say me pesika bia serious dey aya dia. Metima ye adwuma na ebia emo 10 ana 8 bia. Ebia atam trend kura mpo mitiminya. By sisi dodo na begu ha no. Unya ne sa.
Okay. But passengers in there, omba normal attend and they be omba na.
Omba dey bad. Sisi no as a school for no ibnu mama kwa no ntino. E ko form kakra. Just e bia mo bi school na school kura no chase ku school. Ansana na bibia easy kra mai.
All right. So what he is saying is that their operations have been slow for some time now. Now most of the people who were operating within the central business district have moved to this area, competing with them for passengers. He says that somewhere last week or before the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly's directive took effect, at least in a day you can get 200 cedis from operating from morning to about 6 p.m. You can make 200 cedis. But now things have changed. The 200 cedis, you cannot make it within that time. If you want to make 200 cedis, you should work till somewhere around 11 p.m. in the evening. That is when you can make the amount, because now the tricycles are so many concentrated within Sawaba. So those who were originally operating within Sawaba and its environs are suffering. As you can see, this is also an occupation for many, including the young and the old within the Zongo community. So some of them are very concerned about how some of these people are going to make livelihood if the KMA's directive continue in this way. The KMA's reason is that the Central Business District of Kumasi is choked, so they would want to clear the area, and gradually they will be doing that, beginning with those operating in tricycles. They'll start by clearing them, and after the tricycles, they will move from the tricycles to the buses, long journey buses, and all those things, and gradually ensure that they restrict movement within the CBD so that people who are coming there to operate or to buy can also get free movement. We'll try to speak to some of the passengers on how they feel about the present directive. But before that, let me speak to this old man. He has some interesting thoughts about the KMA's directive. Papa, I know you come earlier. Now we can be about Emra and Senia. Esi Ayajuma or Majuma Muyim. Besa Uchim Bim Seneste.
The Tian say, Yamebo Enyina will be Wabonisha Emrasi. Emrabe, ye if you be occurred, Emra occurred to me. I want no terminum. Samemia Bonisea, my committee Mihua. Alaji, welcome to Abansi say. Ya boka 2 cedi otua menu ehu a wanye biu
enti eba sa amodwuma emra no sen nka nya adwuma mfa
ade hia ne say ye nyina ye transport adwuma tro ena teze energy sese kroma se ye nkoi enti ese bi enim se beba na kroma ye ma ne teze fu ne tro fo ye nyina wo abusu ahwe wo mu so se ba ko pe ne di bone a ye nche no ne ye nchaage no Wotua e kira me hu a me nya bio
almost say say no person me about almost gradually almost 30 feet tricycles no move your control taxi
nyina ye nhia preko ye nhia ye mponi fo ntrofo ni taxi fo tia na ya kan obi nya adwuma, but you have to make sure say emra no da ho adi so why ni so ne ya che wo ne aba na wo charge wo che no nya bio the best thing.
So he is saying that the KMA must apply the same laws and regulations to tricycle riders and other transport operators, including the taxis and the trotros. Now, if they are not supposed to stop somewhere, they should ensure that not even the trotro and the taxis stop at these areas, so that we can have the free movement within the CBD, and the laws must work for all these people who operate within this environment. So interesting ideas coming in from the people here at Sawaba, who are tricycle operators who've been who operate these tricycles, who have been banned from entering the Central Business District with their operations.
Update on this Pragya riders and their disagreement with the KMA. This is still the AM show. We're going to take a break. When we return, we'll have a conversation with the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Library Authority, Hayford Siao, and on what he's been able to do and what's also in stock for the Library Authority. What you should know, about what they're doing and what to expect. So stay with us for that conversation. But before, let's say greetings to Dr. Kamel Addo and Matilda, both in the United States. Best regards and great grace. God bless you for your kindness. And that's coming from my producer, Kinsley here. Happy birthday to Opinion Kwabena, Japan. At 89, you are still the best father-in-law. God bless you. From Professor Margaret, Japan, and the entire family. We love and appreciate you. So, Eja Opinion Kwabena, Japan, at 89 years, you're loved. Happy birthday to you from Margaret, Professor Margaret, Japan, and the entire family. That's it. We'll take a quick break here. We'll be back, so stay with us.
It's a new day. Where does today find us? We're here. I'm sure if you take a look at the number of books in here, you'd be able to get that. The office we find ourselves in is inhabited by someone who loves reading. And you wouldn't be wrong. My name is Benjamin Akakpo, and this today is our conversation with the CEO of the Ghana Library Authority in the person of Mr. Hayford Siao. He's been gracious enough to invite us over, and here we are discussing with him on reading, on how far the Ghana Library Authority has come, and some other matters I'll save for later. Mr. Siao.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this conversation.
No, it's a pleasure.
Maybe just to kickstart the conversation, I'm sure some people will be asking the Ghana Library Authority, and sometimes people don't get to hear so much about the space that you occupy. As CEO, tell me, what per the law does the Ghana Library Authority do?
Okay, so Ghana Library Authority is one of the oldest public institutions in Ghana, established in 1950 by an act of Parliament of Ghana. So actually the second oldest public institution established by law after Kokobot. And since 1950, the mandate has been the same: to establish, of course, to equip, maintain, and manage public libraries in Ghana. Emphasis on public libraries, because often the time people get confused about what public libraries are and what school libraries are. But the law establishes us to manage, maintain, equip, and maintain public libraries in Ghana. And so really, if you pick each of the items within the object of the law, then it's quite clear, the mandate within it. So established. So of course we do, whether through government or partnerships, we do establish static library environment. Of course, now with establishment, you consider we also establish, say, digital platforms that enable citizens to be connected to knowledge. And then also we equip those spaces. So often at times also you get people coming to us that they've managed to be able to establish a library and a building, and they want to hand over to Ghana Library Authority to equip it and manage such facilities. So we do equipping of these spaces also to be able to also make them the spaces available to the Ghanaian public. Then we also, of course, maintain those spaces. I mean, that's a normal institution that, of course, have these number of libraries across the world. You're supposed to be maintaining and managing them, employing people, providing the resources for day-to-day operations. So these are some of the specific areas that per the mandate of the law we do undertake. But of course, in being able to connect citizens' knowledge, the static library at that time, that was really the mindset of the what do we call it? The wisdom behind the mandate in establishing the authority. And
over the years, it has also metamorphosed into, of course, providing digital platforms to connect citizens to knowledge.
Of course, now things have gone digital.
Yes.
And social media is thriving. So.
Yes. And then you also have, vans, of course, mobile library vans also that we use in connecting citizens. And then we also have a book box program that we give to schools and other educational institutions also to be able to make these resources available to the Ghanaian public. Beside the connecting of citizens to knowledge role, which I have demonstrated the means that we undertake those exercises, we are also the institution responsible for ISO certification for books, which is the International Standard Book numbers.
Oh, I see.
International Standard Book.
In Ghana?
In Ghana.
I
And so
see.
we do the issuance of those, and also, per law, we are also responsible for taking legal deposit. So all published materials, by law, you're supposed to make deposit of them to be kept by the Ghana Library Authority for reference, purposes. And so we are also responsible for that. We also are the ones responsible for the compilation of the Ghana National Bibliography, which is the compilation of all written materials by Ghanaians about Ghana. And also that exercise is also under, we also undertake that exercise on behalf of the state.
Permit me to digress a bit, because I'm an author myself. I don't know whether you're aware of that, but the royalties system when it comes to authors, I've noticed that over the years, in fact the last few years, it has dwindled. There are years when it hasn't come through, and even after COVID hit, it became problematic. Do you have any idea? Would you happen to be linked to that in any way?
No, I have no business doing with
It's just Copy Ghana, right? It's just Copy Ghana.
Copyright officer, that they are responsible for that. But for us, by law, we just take the legal deposit of the written resources, whether newspaper, whether books, as in printed materials. We take the legal deposit, curate it for reference purposes,
right?
And it's made available to the Ghanaian public.
Now, you've spoken about the boxes that you make available to institutions, I mean the mobile units and all of that. But I'd like to find out from you, we've had this conversation before, I just want to bring attention to it again. The children's library in the airport enclave around the Zenith Bank, is it functioning? Is it active? I mean, I've been on you on this matter before, so I just want to go back. I've passed by that place a few times, but I've never been in there.
You should go in there. It's a beautiful place. It's been open for about, we are in August, about almost 8 months now.
Okay.
So yes, it's open.
So
to the
this
public.
year? That means at the start of the year?
December?
Or was it late last year?
February, I think early this year. So it's been open to the public, and we have over 20,000 books, there are over 50 computers in there. We have conference room, play areas for kids, all age groups. We have resources available to them, and it's amazing the number of people patronizing that public.
What are the numbers like?
So for airports,
and I'm not just talking the elite groupings, because this already, if you find it in airport, residential, or Roman Bridge and all of that. I'm talking about those from the other side of town, because the interesting part of that community, you have Roman Ridge Airport on one end, and on the very next end you have the Candes and the Nimes and the pig farm.
So probably, let me use this opportunity to probably give you a bit of a global view of what used to exist and where we are now. So when I took over Ghana Library Authority in January 2018, we used to have just 61 public libraries across the country.
61.
On the shelves of these libraries were less than 400,000 books. But take you to 1981, we had 36 libraries, and on the shelf was 1,049,000.
Wow.
So if you look at the drop in books on the shelf for public libraries, vis-a-vis the fact that we had increased the number of footprint by 25, then you could appreciate that we were really in crisis when it comes to public library services in Ghana. And so from 2018, working with the board, we came up with a strategic plan, 5-year strategic plan. The idea was to accelerate really the footprint of public libraries in Ghana, and make sure that we have enough books on the shelves of these public libraries. Then we can talk about patronage, because the argument or the rhetoric they don't even hear about us. create a conducive environment. So first, we started to be able, and then, by the way, patronage as at 2017 was just around 300,000
a year.
A year.
Okay.
But fast forward, as of today, we have 118 libraries within the network of public libraries in Ghana. On the shelf of 118, we have over 1.4 million books on the shelves of this.
So you've added about 400,000 or less to the count that initially we had around independence.
We've added up over 1 million.
No, I'm saying that the figure you gave before the drop.
Yes.
So you've added on to that.
Yeah, 1981 drop.
You've added to that number. At least now we've made progress.
We've made very significant progress. And guess what has happened? We've managed to increase patronage, which was just around 300,000, to now, by the end of this year, we are projecting to hit 2 million.
Okay.
So what does this tell us? It tells us that as a country, if we commit to be able to expand the network of public libraries, what it means is that we will be getting closer to our users.
Right.
Fill your shelves with the right relevant resources, and naturally people will be attracted to these spaces, because trust me, if you visit a library 1, 2 and the book you are looking for, you don't find them. Of course,
once the content is there, people will be attracted, and then by word of mouth, you would also hear people talk about, oh, I got this from that place, and then that cycle continues.
Exactly. And we did a whole restructuring of the organization, created a whole team responsible for promotion and engagement with our audience, and by that, we've managed to increase by this margin.
So tell me, do you then agree when people say the reading culture in Ghana is non-existent, that Ghanaians don't like reading? From what you've just told me, is it then that the opportunity or the environment hasn't been created for people to cultivate the habit, or is it that Ghanaians tend to shy away from reading? Which is it? From what you've just told me, what's then?
I disagree with
reading?
the school of thought that Ghanaians don't like reading. I think the right environment and atmosphere has not been created. I have met very elite people, very senior public officials that continue to refer to me, oh, who reads these days? Everything is on the computer. They don't see the significance of public libraries. Finland, which has about 7 million or so people, has got over 800 public libraries. Within every 3-kilometer radius, you can find 70% of their public libraries. And this is a country with almost 100% internet penetration. Martin Luther King Public Library in Washington, D.C. was just opened just last year. Washington, D.C. is one of the most connected places on this earth.
It's a hub of everything, technology especially.
Dubai. They've just commissioned the Library of the Future. Even these countries that have everything, or even the citizens have the resources to be able to buy whatever books that they have, are still building and setting up libraries for their citizens. Historically, in 1970, there was a research done by Ghana Library Authority, British Council, and the Ministry of Education to really understand why Ghanaians, the perception out there is that Ghanaians don't read. And one of the outcomes was that we have a very poor school library system in this country. So it's not a recent issue. I mean, it's been historical from the 50s, 60s, 70s. We build schools, we've refused to set up libraries, we refuse to put in the book resources, we even refuse to have professionals to even go to the schools to manage the libraries in the schools. And so you can go to most of our schools across the country and ask them if they have a professional school librarian available. And it's zero.
What is the status now? Because you've made me cast my mind back to my secondary school days, and yes, I, together with a handful of others, you would often find us, and the African writers, the Heinemann classics, and all of those. In fact, some of us are able to do what we do and know some of the things we know because of these books we read. The Ngugi wa Thiongos, the Amatai Dus, the Buchi Amechetas, and all the other African writers. I mean, it was something. On the other hand, when I came home, together with some other friends, you would read the Western authors, the John Grishams, the Sidney Sheldons. My own father had quite an expansive library. But those bits in school also kept you, they added something. So I remember you would go, they would stamp, you would go, read, return it, would have conversations on them. Obviously, if you don't have that kind of system, that's where
you
starts,
don't build a culture. So in 1970, after that research work, there was then a policy direction for a department to be set up at the Ghana Library Authority called the Schools and College Library Department. And so those experiences you had in school was from that work, because they started to equip all school libraries in the country. There was a whole acquisition done for all school libraries in the country. Trained personnel were managing school libraries in the country, and these school libraries became the de facto reference point for teachers, people who are teaching the students, and the students themselves. So libraries don't only serve the student, but it's also serve the teaching community. Unfortunately, over the years, we've neglected that department. We don't provide that department with the resources to be operate, as it were. And not until 2018, when the then Minister of Education, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh, gave a policy direction for us to bring that department back, for us to do a comprehensive assessment of all senior high school libraries in the country, which was undertaken. And out of that assessment and recommendation, we then started to equip senior high schools across the country.
So that department is back?
It's back.
It's up and running?
It's up and running.
Is it being given the proper funding, logistically, human resource,
of course,
monetary resources?
Of course, just with many interventions.
Bottlenecks.
It does not have all the resources, but at least it had, from 2018 to at least 2020 before COVID, it had enough resources to be able to undertake the exercise it had to undertake. And so if we really want to build a culture of reading, you don't even just only tackle at the senior high school level, but also at the basic level. So right from class 1, class 2 to GHS 3, we expect that schools will have libraries, at least one professional there to be able to support, to support the students to be able to have access to the resources that they require at their age, because at that level you also need appropriate level books for them. At the Ghana Library Authority, we have children's library sections, and so these children's library sections understand that, of course, we don't have an expansive reach in the country, and so these departments offer the book box program, and so this book box program allow us to go to schools, of course, who don't have the libraries, so that we can be able to make some of our resources available to the schools. It's not enough, and we want to really be able to do more. That is why in 2018 we made a case for the inclusion of public libraries as part of the KPIs within the Education Strategic Plan, which was, of course, the first time that you found library making its way into an Education Strategic Plan of this country. And then within that strategic plan, we envisage to have 540 public libraries in the country by 2030. And so,
are you on course for that?
Yes, of course.
Where do we find ourselves currently?
Moving from 61 now to 118. At least we are making headway. We are hoping that by the close of this year, we would have added about 5 new libraries to the existing network. If we progress around our lines, we're able to get clearance to be able to recruit the required personnel. We're able to, raise the quantum of financial resources to be able to acquire more books on our shelves, be able to also import more books, because you have to have a blend of both books from all over the world. If we are able to do all of that, yes, I'm sure we should be able to even exceed the target.
So a few things come to mind. I just want straight answers on this, but over the years, the reading standards, for example, in school, and it's also partly because books are not available. So even if you do a comparative between private institutions and public institutions, you would see that the reading abilities of pupils and students are different. Yes. I've had opportunity of being a visiting official to some of these international institutions, and when you're there, you can tell that, look, some of those institutions at, let's say, even the secondary level, comparatively to students in certain major universities here, you find a sort of disparity comparatively. So UN reports over time have shown that reading capacity, ability among our young ones is problematic.
Oh yes, I mean,
and it is clear partly on the back of some of these challenges. So then I ask, with this department now being formed to target institutions, how many institutions now have been aided? I mean, I just want your brief thoughts on that. Have been aided to set up libraries, to have at least some capacity in that end?
Oh, you mean so for senior high schools, we've done training for about 710 senior high schools across the country. We've managed to, as of today, equip about 80 of them. Of these senior high schools across.
Is my very own Bishop Herman College one of them? Else you'll be picking a fight with me.
Not that I could recall, but if you can see me in chambers,
so I'm pitching on live television for my alma mater, Bishop Herman College in Bando.
We can take a look.
I'm even mentioning the name of the place so you don't forget.
No
Bando,
Bando, we have a library there. If the branch librarian is watching, I mean, he should just get in touch and get some. We just got about 40 feet container of new books arriving today, so we are happy to make some resources available through you to the school.
Right. Let's talk about Ghana being the book capital,
Accra.
And Accra being the book capital of the world, and what that means for us, and how the Ghana Library Authority is feeding into that, because this is big.
Yes. So previously, Ghana has been making an attempt to host the World Book Capital, but it has not been successful. But 2021, something happened. Ghana Library Authority, because of the enormous work we've done, been able to expand the network of public libraries, been able to retool our existing libraries, refurbish them, put in a lot more materials, now bring mobile library vans back on the road. It became exciting for the global audience. And so in 2021, we were declared the United Nations Public Service Awards Institution of the Year. We also declared the Library of the Year. And then UNESCO, which recommended us as the United Nations Public Service Award recipient, also recognized Accra as the World Book Capital, because they believed Ghana had grown over the last few years to be able to undertake a lot of initiatives that can actually increase interest among Ghanaian population on books. And so for Ghana Library Authority, we have a number of course, in programs to be able to organize, which we've commenced since April. What key among them is, of course, still working to be able to increase the network of public libraries across the country, because we believe that Accra, being the World Book Capital, provides us the platform and the opportunity to network with a lot more institutions that can provide us with the to be able to do what our mandate directs us to do. Of course, we also think that we need to make sure that a lot more Ghanaians have access to our resources, which of course when we increase them. And so in working to be able to increase the number of resources at our disposal, of course the books, we also must also increase interest. And for which reason this year we've performed so well that by the end of this year over 2 million people would have visited and used the public library network across the country. Of course, we also are taking personality readings where we bring prominent individuals in our society to the library space to be able to read and engage with library patrons, across the country. We have a lot of thought leadership seminars that will also be coming up, because we believe that the conversation on public libraries, must take place around this time to be able to amplify the enormous contribution of public libraries to not only education, but also the economic transformation of this country. I mean, if you go to several countries, they use the library spaces for a lot of things. I mean, look at this huge building here. I mean, I always tell my people that we are underutilizing our spaces. In most advanced countries, the library spaces, they're able to move the shelves to the corners and just have a lot of event, because you see, the library space is to connect citizens to knowledge. The knowledge can be in the book, the knowledge can be in the cloud, the knowledge can be in people, the knowledge can also be transferred through experiment. And so you should be able to make your library environment so conducive to be able to even practicalize some of the things that you are reading. If you go to Toronto Public Library, there's a chef who is teaching people, they have catering books teaching people how to prepare meals. You reading the book and just applying what you are reading the books. If you go to Cologne Public Library, they teach people sewing. They go there, people borrow a lot of resources there, STEM corners. You heard of about what do we call it, tool library, so people are able to borrow equipment from the libraries. And so there is really a lot of things that a library in a community, based on the community needs, can be able to respond to them. And that for us is where some of the conversation around public library should be heading towards, so that we don't only be known for having books in the room for people to just come to our spaces to sit and just have access to some of our books, but also connected spaces for experiential learning, spaces for engagement and building, the youth and adult alike.
And I think as we work on the reading culture in Ghana, it will build a certain interest. Because of my own background, I am contemplating putting up a space, a library space in where I live. Because I have, if I'm not mistaken, thousands of books.
Oh wow.
Personal books.
Oh wow.
Some inherited, a lot of them taken up. So, but I ask myself, even having this conversation, how many of those in a certain category who would even be considered middle class or elite in this country would even have 100 books to boast of? So that's something to look at. But you also got me thinking, before we talk about the initiatives of the Ghana Library Authority, you've also won some awards.
Yes.
In fact, in 2021, you were talking about that. I want us to look at those awards you won. But let me just sneak this in. As you spoke about the books in different places, I remember the last time I went through the Schiphol Airport. They have an airport library.
Yes, airport library there.
I found that interesting. This is just by the way. You go there and you take a look at a few things, and it's one of the brilliant ways of selling your country and your culture and whatever you stand for. So my challenge to you then, what I want to see next, some such stuff, whether mobile or not, at our airports. Now the Tamale Airport is, it's opening. There's the whole airport. There's Accra. So over to you, Joe Latte, or over to you,
We'll come to that later before you start criticizing and making books available to the elite people. Let me finish.
I know, that is why I'm saying I'm throwing that challenge to you. But of course, you have to do what the basics are.
We'll get there.
And then we'll get there. But let's talk about 2021 and the awards that you won
so
as an authority.
Yeah, so I made reference to that in my preamble to the Accra World Book Capital. So, of course, Ghana Library Authority, when this government took over the management of this institution, previously in 2007, UNESCO had donated some mobile vans to us. Unfortunately, they were not functioning. They had issues broken down here and there, scattered across the country. There were 10 of them. So, in 2018, we decided to work on the van and get them on the road. And then we worked with Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication to also put computers in these vans. So the vans were moving across the length and breadth of this country with books and computers in there. And UNESCO, through some means, nominated us for United Nations Public Service Awards in 2021. That during the COVID era, they saw our books going around the country, not only making books available to the citizens of Ghana, but also making computers available to them. I mean, when we visit a school, for example, the school do not have, computer lab or something like that, we make our laptops available to the ICT teachers. They're able to use it for experiential learning with the kids. And so, United Nations saw that as a unique way of including people who otherwise would not have been part of the digital ecosystem. And so they recognize our work as one of the most innovative public institutions that is trying to bring equity and inclusion within the technology education space. And that was why we were sent, to receive that award on behalf of the Republic of Ghana. And then the London International Book Fair Excellence Awards also, we were nominated, as the Library of the Year in the finals with Croatia and Kenya. And by the grace of God, Ghana came on top, as and declared as the Library of the Year.
I see. And, that's interesting because when you think of, there are some powerhouses. Ghana used to be such a powerhouse. Yes. I mean, when you think of the days of the beautiful ones are not yet born. Yes. Interesting because you can't miss that, the way they spell beautiful with a Y in there. And you think of Kenyan authors, prominent among them, Thiongo among others, and how far they've come. That would be quite a feat for Ghana to, in this era, do that. But beyond all of these, what other achievements, what other initiatives has the Ghana Library Authority? I mean, as I speak to you now, what is afoot for the GLA?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, if you look at the institution of Ghana Library Authority, I gave you an indication that in 2018 we needed to come up with a strategic plan, knowing the dire situation we've inherited. We needed to be able to bring back the spirit of public libraries in Ghana. And as at today, we can confidently say that we've achieved a lot out of that. Prominent among them, expanding the footprint of public libraries, which I earlier mentioned to inherit a network of only 61 libraries for 30 million population. I gave you the comparison with other countries, and it was really not the best. Currently at 118. Phenomenal. Never in any part of Africa has, within a period of 5 years, the library network has been increased by more than 50. Never. We've managed to be able to achieve that. Look at the books on the shelf.
Were you doing this, ticking, was it a bucket list? Oh, let me do this so that I set some sort of record? Or were you actually hoping to impact? I mean, were you doing this like, Charlie, make I do this, then you could just say, Charlie, I work?
No.
Or is this actually impacting something?
Okay, so you know that my background, I mean, I have been a social entrepreneur since 2005. I have been committed to development in various aspects. I was working for myself before coming into Ghana Library. I was running library programs. I was supporting schools with books shipped from all over the world. And so it has always been a passion. My passion has always been make an impact, but to as many people as possible.
Right.
And so coming into Ghana Library and being given this huge institution to manage, I thought this was a unique opportunity to make really an impact. So yes, you've inherited 61 libraries. Between 1981 to 2017, we've only increased library network by 25, which was really, really nothing to write home about. Now, within a period of 5 years, we've increased by 57. We also thought that, of course, I told you earlier that the number of books on the shelf was nothing to write home about. To be able to increase network of public library books on the shelf of public library by over 1 million, I mean, you can do an approximate cost. If you buy one book for just even $5, multiply it by over 1 million books, and you can recognize the enormous resource we've managed to mobilize from all over the world to be able to help us to achieve this impact.
So I mean, you talk about mobilizing resources. I know most of, or quite a chunk of it, would not come from the internal base. You would get some from here, but you would get a lot of support from outside as well. Who are some of the partners that have aided you in this enterprise? And then again, do you feel we've got to the point then, on the back of what you mentioned, the department coming back and all of that, that now the authority and books and reading and the establishment of libraries is becoming a real part of national development? Do you get what I mean?
Yes. I mean, for the first time, a political party in Ghana, the New Patriotic Party, made a commitment to be able to support the development of public library. Never, you can Google from 1950, no political party manifesto have they mentioned public library as a contribution. Today, if you listen to the message of His Excellency the Vice President across the country, he will tell you the number of public libraries we've managed to establish in this country. If you look at the number of MPs that are pushing for the establishment of public libraries in their communities, unbelievable. Never, I mean, people have been working here for 40 years. Never in the history has MPs been rushing to be able to,
And when you say MPs, I hope it's from both sides.
Unfortunately, during my time, it's only been the New Patriotic Party MPs. We've only Dr. Matthew
Why do you think that is?
Honorable Asenso Boache, Honorable Enyonam Manye, Honorable Esther Kufu. I mean, it's only been them.
Are you not open to minority MPs?
We are open. I'm actually, some people write for me to give them books to go and donate to schools. So of course, we've been supporting them, but we believe that they should also try to work with their MCs to use some of their common fund to also be able to establish libraries, just like the other MPs within the New Patriotic Party have been doing. So I think for now, we've managed to build the interest, and it's also because of some of the opportunity you have been giving to me, especially you. I mean, since your days with class, you were calling me to come and talk about libraries, and so that communication we've managed to do it has increased a lot of interest. Recently, I did a write-up for publication in Daily Graphic, and out of that, we got responses from some corporate leaders in this country who approached us to support us to establish libraries within their hometowns, and so we have seen an enormous increase in interest. We have telecom companies, MTN and Vodafone, all supporting. We have Newmont Ghana supporting. We have Global Fund, Book Aid International also supporting us to be able to. There's a group within World Bank. It's called World Bank Family Foundation. Also, coming in to also support us to be able to get more books to get to our citizens. And so we've really been experiencing such a huge interest, especially in terms of donation of books. In programs and project implementation also, we've had some grants here and there, UNICEF, UNESCO, and all of those other partners coming in to support us to be able to undertake some of the very good projects we've been embarking on, at least over the last few years.
Another thing I will say is that oftentimes whatever development we think of, and in this instance we are talking of libraries and capacity building in different forms, we focus too much in the urban areas. We think Ghana is Accra. So I am hoping that by and by we'll expand even further into the most remote areas of our country. But how exactly has the authority harnessed technology to, brought it to the fore in terms of making books accessible to I mean, there was this project, I've just forgotten the name, back when I was on radio and my book show was running, they also had this thing going on where people could access books and all of that. World Reader. Yes. World Reader. They actually parted me on my show then. So what has the drive been like, technologically speaking?
So, making reference to our strategic plan, one of the thematic area that our growth strategies was anchored on was on technology. And I can tell you that we are really one of the public agencies with a solid hands-on technology use to benefit the people of Ghana. We have a team in-house managing even our whole digital infrastructure. One, key services that we provide, book services, making books available to the Ghanaian public. We've managed to establish a digital library app, and so for the first time, if you are watching me, we have a digital library app. Go on your Play Store, your App Store, just search Ghana Library. The app will pop up, download them and install it. And for the first time, you can be able to get a library card number sitting at home. An automatic library card number is generated and a temporary password is generated for you. You can be able to log in and you can have access to books, not only ebooks, but also audiobooks and even video tutorials. So in 2020, when COVID happened, the then Minister, Dr. Matthew Pragya, gave a directive to us that enhance your library app and put all the video tutorials that GES and the Center for Distance and Open Schooling had developed. And so at that time, St. Louis had developed, video content for senior high school, but senior high school students needed a code to be able to log in and all of that. So it was not really... It was a bit cumbersome. It was a bit cumbersome. We put all of those video tutorials on our app. We got Vodafone and MTN to zero-rate the platform. And so as of today, when you download our app and you're watching video, you are listening to audiobooks or you are reading ebooks, you don't pay for data charges.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
So if someone downloads those right now, and they're using MTN or Vodafone, it means a zero rating. They can watch all these videos.
They can watch all of these
without losing any data.
And actually, some parents are using some of the videos as extra classes for their kids. And so you go to grade 2, you see a grade 2 science tutorial that has been taught by an expert teacher of GES, and you can let your children watch those videos. And so we've created that environment available to the Ghanaian public. We've also, for the ISBN, I told you in the time, before 2018, you needed to go to, if you are in Bolga, you needed to come to Accra to be able to get an ISBN number. Today, you can sit at the comfort of your home and be able to upload your manuscript and apply for an ISBN, and it is issued to you. And so we've managed to use technology and to make our services accessible to the Ghanaian public. We've done I told you about the laptops that are available on our mobile library vans, so that schools who otherwise will not have access to practical ICT lessons, at least the teachers can use the devices we've provided for teaching. And then within the static library spaces, we needed to be able to connect them to internet. So here there's Wi-Fi here. If you go to most of our libraries, not all the libraries, but most of our libraries have connectivity. Now internet is available. We have also computers there. We have created technology hubs in collaboration with Vodafone and GIFIC, where we put computers there, connected them to the internet, and we do teaching there, basic ICT courses also for the citizens of Ghana. Ghana Library Authority work is to connect citizens to knowledge. We also believe that knowledge also resides in the cloud. And so we've also been undertaking, giving Ghanaians the opportunity to do distance learning courses through massive open online course platforms. So through a partnership with the Commonwealth of Learning, we are able to sponsor Ghanaians to go on Coursera. When you use Coursera to learn,
EDX, among others.
Yes, you will pay to get a certificate. Through Commonwealth of Learning, we have a program on the Google Grow, where Google has identified about 5 key courses that they need a lot of people skilled in, user experience in project management and all of those. So we're able to get people go online, take up these courses, and get their certificate. Over 40,000 Ghanaians have so far benefited.
How come I didn't know? Because I started the project management bit. I didn't have time, so at a point I had to cut off because then I'll be coming on board.
No. We can get
I'll be coming on board.
Yeah, we can get you on the next cohort.
I've always been interested in adding to my skill set and picking some of these things. Yes, you add them as you go along, and that's what life is all about. But as we get ready to conclude the conversation, and I'll not forget to talk about politics. Maybe you're hoping I'll not go there, but I will. But let's I want to also look at this point. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of the central bank and its own wahala, so to speak, in terms of spending and overshooting this target and that target, even as we were hoping for an IMF-supported program. And then in recent times, Shraj has also come under a bit of fire in terms of the Auditor Generals and all of that. If you look at the figures, it tells you that across a lot of these authorities, state-owned enterprises and all of that, a lot is going on. So I'm putting you to, I'm putting your feet to the fire. How are you dealing with those situations in terms of accountability, in terms of cost, in terms of how you run your activities here? I know I've taken you
it's okay.
by surprise on that one, but I just want to know. So,
I mean, Ghana Library Authority is a subvented institution, so we don't raise our money to have the freedom to spend the way we want. So every maybe October or so, thereabout, we'll prepare a budget based on estimate that, and send it to our board. Our board will review. And if they accept, then I'll push it to the ministry, go and defend what the authority management and board has agreed on to undertake. And if the ministry agrees, then they will go with me.
By ministry, you mean the finance
Ministry of Education.
Or education.
Yes.
Okay, so you are directly under education.
We are directly
under education. And they have to
go,
finance ministry.
Yes, so they have to go with us to Ministry of Finance to be able to also show to them that this is what Ghana Library Authority envisaged to do, and then they will capture it, present it to Parliament. Then we will go to Parliament, also defend our budget, whilst giving, of course, making a presentation on how we spent previous money they approved for us. And so there is this, whole procedures in place to ensure that.
So it is clear a system is in place, but between what you often present and what you get, is there a gap?
Oh yeah, of course, definitely. I mean,
wide gap?
Because of course, government gives to us as and when they raise money. We are subvented, so every quarter government releases what they have been able to release. And so maybe government said, I will give you 2 Ghana cedi. They will end up giving you 50 pesos. So that's really how it works.
What was your budget for this year? What did the board approve? Well, this isn't a question.
Okay.
I mean, to give us a fair idea of where you are headed in terms of the authority, vis-a-vis what you also get into the kitty.
If my memory will serve me right, about
I'm sure it will.
It's about almost 15 million Ghana cedis.
15 million.
Yes,
So far, about how much have you got?
Maybe I have to check. Maybe around 8-9
million.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Let's talk politics now. I don't know, but a lot of you in institutions who have been appointed CEOs and the rest, all of you are veering into politics. And a little bird whispered to me that, hey, Hefotiao is also lacing his boots. Is that correct information?
Well, I belong to the Elephant Party. And the Elephant Party believed in developing people, and giving opportunity for everyone to be able to participate in the political process. We are anticipating that nominations will be open sometime in December. People are approaching me with some ideas.
People are approaching you?
Yeah, it's the constituency that is calling for me to be able to come and help.
Your constituency?
Yes, my constituency. They are really
which constituency
calling me to make a decision, which I have not yet made. In Salmadwaji constituency.
Oh, I see. Wow, that makes me. You have some heavyweights to contend with, if that's where you're looking.
But I mean,
within your party within
heavyweight, what does it mean?
I like that. Oh, okay. But listen, there are others who have come before you, and the Frank Canodo Prez and others have obviously been there. This would be his third term?
This is his third term.
Yes, this is his third term. And of course, there's also the other, the opposition, yes, and those parties that would want to take that seat. So obviously, when I talk of heavyweights in there, it is the opposition, and it is within your own party. If you're going for the primary, unless you have information that we don't, in terms of whether Frank would even want to go.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You have no idea.
And I have not made the decision also to contest or not. But the party within Nsamandwajiri it's not doing so well. I mean, if you look at our performance over the years, it's been just coming down. With the recent elections, His Excellency the President won by almost 7,000 margin.
While the
parliamentary did less than 3,000. So you have to understand the causative factors and be able to see how do you address them. Over the years, has there been an attempt within the constituency to be able to address those challenges that got us to be able to lose over 10,000 votes within the parliamentary elections. And if you are able to do a very fair and objective analysis, you will also come to the conclusion that not much has been done by current leaders to be able to address the systemic challenges within the constituency. And so that's probably why a lot of the leaders in the constituency, are calling for a new face to represent the party. Because I think over the period, research has always shown that, bring a new face, bring new energy within the political party, and is able to excite people, and they're able to, vote for the new candidates.
And of course, if I talk of parliamentary elections, I'll definitely talk about the presidential as well. The group of 10 is lacing its boots to go for the super delegates enterprise, if you like, and 5 of them will make the cut. Is there anyone you are backing, supporting?
Who am I? Is there somebody
are you going to be like Chebawu to me and ask?
Who am I?
No, he has a way of saying it. He says it a different way. But let's leave that out. What is your take within your party? Because now that's the next big thing, and breaking the 8 is contingent on the sort of candidate you present, and whether that candidate can go toe to toe with the other candidates coming from different parties.
All right, so welcome back to the AM show. Now, for our earlier conversation on the situation at Niger and how it's affecting availability and prices of onions on the Ghanaian market, Haruna sent us this from up north. He says, good morning, bro. I love your program this morning. My brother's trailers are logged at the borders there. The onions are rotting fast as a result of the perishable nature. In principle and in practical, government policies don't promote agriculture and agricultural productivity in Ghana. Very beautiful written policy document, but no implementation. Unless we reposition ourselves as a country leaning on agriculture, we will suffer this way. He says, we're always proud of you, Kolai. Okay. And Kolai is the name we give to people who read agriculture in the University of Cape Coast. So that's from Haruna there. Grateful to you, Haruna, for watching the show this morning. Well, there's this important issue of which we've done a documentary which is to be aired later today on this channel. It was put together by my colleague, Ohiming Teria. Now, you know, we all accept that, or we've all come to know that suicide or contemplating on committing suicide is something that adult people often do, but to hear that children are even contemplating suicide is something that is out of, is out of the blue. That, hey, where is this coming from? That young children are even contemplating, are even planning on executing it and committing suicide. It's a very, important subject area that we have not explored. And that's why it's very, very important that Ohiming Teria, who is with our health desk, has gone into this and has put together, this documentary. Ohiming joins me live via Zoom from Kumasi. Ohiming, good morning to you. I hope you are well. What is the focus of this documentary that we're about to watch? I mean, kindly unmute so we can hear what you're telling us. All right, so Ohiming Teria is joining us. He is the producer of that documentary. He's going to tell us what we're to expect, what even triggered this particular documentary, so that if you're watching tonight, especially what to look out for. Ohiming, if all is well now, let us understand what we are in for. I still cannot hear Ohiming Teria, but we'll go back to Ohiming so we can bring you that. But his documentary is on Whispers in the Dark, and it's our latest hotline documentary. And look, a mother who cannot hold back her tears, that a child is even thinking about committing suicide, and in fact goes ahead to execute that plan. I mean, that's what everybody is baffled by, that a young kid can plan and execute a suicide, really. And what really pushed the child into having that contemplation, thinking about committing suicide? I mean, this is something that not every adult is able to, think about, but this young person was able to do it. But there should be some underlying factors, and that's what Ohiming Teria explores in this documentary titled Whispers in the Dark. So in the dark, there are a lot of things that go on in there. So we'll be getting back to Ohiming later on, so that we can, understand what this documentary is about, what to expect, and all of that. But if you're watching us, you can see children wailing. This is from a young child who died through suicide, and the colleagues of this young child, the one who couldn't bear the sight of their colleague being buried. But Ohiming explores this issue further up to really understand, what are the underlying factors, what could have been the trigger to this? Ohiming joins us. Ohiming, we want to find out from you, first of all, what triggered this documentary?
Line of work as a journalist over the years, what I observed is the fact that suicide used to be the preserve of adults in our society. But over the last 10 years, I noticed a different trend. That is the involvement of children and adolescents in that order. So what used to be the preserve of adults now seems to also attract children into the suicide. And I can tell you in my documentary, I discovered that children as young as 7 years were taking steps or made attempts to take their lives. In some instances, they were successful. In other instances, they survived suicide. So it becomes an attempted suicide. And so my mission is simple. When I started this whole, investigations, Ghana, was still criminalizing suicide. So what it meant was that when somebody attempts suicide, at that time, the state, from the laws that existed, talking about the criminal code of 1960, there were portions of it which criminalizes attempted suicide. So the idea is that we're telling people that when you attempt suicide, you have to be successful. When being successful means you have to end your life, kill yourself at all costs, so that you don't face any prosecution. And so that is what informed my decision to go into suicide involving minors in our society. And the things that I discovered are mind-boggling, Kojo. I tell you, families have been shattered. They are mourning, alone. There are no psychological or psychotherapy support for families involved in suicide. And it's also a money-making venture for some people, from investigations to prosecution in that order. So this is what I decided to explore and also unraveled. So it's a documentary that covers Ashanti, Eastern region, Central region, Savannah region, some parts of Western, and then Western North, as well as the Northern region. But the unfortunate thing is that in Ghana, as we speak, we don't have data on suicide, let alone child or adolescent suicide. And that is something that we need to be pragmatic about as a country, if indeed we do care about our case.
I'm interested in how people can explore this for financial gains. But I guess when we watch the documentary, we'll see how people are exploiting this for their financial gains. In just 30 seconds, what should people expect tonight?
Yes, people should expect to hear tragic stories of our children who have died through suicide. Either there are several methods that these kids employ, and to know that our kids do know what method to take to end their lives is something that we should be cautious about. And also talks about the fact that there are health conditions that prevail among our children, and they are triggered by social events. These social events could be broken home, it could be peer pressure, it could be media influence. And media influence, I also talked about the fact that children watching movies can be influenced to resort to suicide.
Grateful to you for that beautiful work you've done. We're all looking forward to it tonight. And so all the best to you. Kudos for that beautiful work. That's Ohiming Interior of our health desk, and he put together that work, Whispers in the Dark. It's going to be aired tonight at 8:30 on this channel. Well, that's how we wrap up today's edition of the AM show. It's been wonderful. Thanks to you for allowing us into your spaces. We meet up again, God willing, on the same show tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Let's make it 8. Up next is News Desk.